6 of the 1986 World Series is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft. Cold filtered for real draft smoothness. It's beer at its best. By Merrill Lynch. Your world should know no boundaries. By the American Express card. Don't leave home without it. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, and welcome to Game 6. The last time the Boston Red Sox won a World Series, the Doughboys were dug in the trenches of France, Mademoiselle Armentières, and finally, Johnny came marching home. They're trying to do it again tonight, and they're giving the ball to the best pitcher in the American League, Roger Clemens, who was almost a Met. For New York, Bobby Ojeda, who is pitching magnificently in the postseason. He won Game 2 of the playoffs following a loss. He helped keep Houston away and chase the specter of Mike Scott in Game 6. He won Game 3 at Fenway to prevent the nightmare of a Red Sox sweep. Well, Bobby Ojeda and Roger Clemens, it's the Mets who are dug in the trenches, the Red Sox making the charge. Let's meet the manager, the general of the Mets, Davey Johnson, and we'll go to Joe Garagiola.
Okay, Vin. It does begin with you, Davey. Are you going to do anything different? Have you done anything different?
Not really, Joe. You know, I didn't have a clubhouse meeting or something before the game and say this is a big one. I say that about 60 times a year. This is the big one. The guys know it. This is a very pivotal game for us.
Is it simple that you got here with this ball club, and this is the ball club you're going to finish with?
There's no doubt about it. You know, I got here by playing a lot of people, but the people that have played the best for me are going to be playing down to the wire.
Did you at least go over the hitters with Ojeda?
Bobby's pretty smart. He kind of uses a different pattern every time up with a different hitter. Sometimes he'll go more dead fish, another time he'll go more with his fastball. But that's between Gary and Ojeda, and I don't try to get too involved in that.
How would you describe your clubhouse?
I would say we're loose. You know, I'd say we feel good about ourselves. The bats have been swinging, and the offense is going pretty good. But, you know, we're going against the rest of Clements. That's going to be tough for us.
Good luck to you, Davey.
Thanks, Joe.
We'll see what happens right after these messages.
Well, that's baseball, and it's my game. You know, you take your worries to the park and you leave them there. You yell like crazy for your guys. Good for your lungs. The hot dog of the game beats roast beef at the wrist. See your own national game beautifully played. Let's all go out to the ball game as often as we can get away next season. For my dough, that's living.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Here's the lineup for the visiting Boston Red Sox. At third base, Wade Boggs. At second base, a standout in the series, Marty Barrett. At first base, Bill Buckner. In left field, hitting cleanup, Jim Rice. In right field, Dwight Evans. Behind the plate, Rich Gedman. In center field, Dave Henderson. The shortstop, Spike Owen, batting eighth, and the pitcher who will take his turns with the bat, Roger Clemens, on the mound.
Here's the way the Mets will line up on defense. As Davey said, the guys who play the best will be in the lineup, and this is what he goes against right-hand pitching. Wilson, Dykstra, and Strawberry in the outfield. Knight, Santana, Backman at second base. Hernandez at first. Carter behind the plate. Ojeda, the pitcher.
Bobby Ojeda making his second World Series appearance. He won Game 3 at Fenway 7-1. He made 2 starts in the playoffs. He was 1-0 against Houston, picking up the victory in Game 2. Pitched well enough to hold on for Jesse Orosco to win Game 6. He was an 18-game winner during the year, and he came to New York in the deal with Boston that sent, among others, Calvin Schiraldi to the Red Sox.
Ojeda had only 2 fly balls in his last game against the Red Sox. 7 ground balls, fastball, curve, slider change. But as you heard Davey Johnson say, he'll throw you that dead fish, that change of pace. His biggest plus, changing speeds. He will come inside, but he can spot that ball on the outside corner. He is a good pitcher.
It will be noisy here at Shea on Saturday night. It is a festive, highly enthusiastic crowd as Wade Boggs awaits the first pitch. A strike. 0-1 to Boggs, followed by Barrett and then Buckner. Breaking ball missed, 1-1. The plate umpire from the American League, Dale Ford. Working the bases, John Kibler, Jim Evans, and Harry Wendelstedt. Joe Brinkman on the left field foul line. Ed Montague on the right field foul line. 1 ball, 1 strike. And there's a hopper off the glove at third of Knight, and Santana can't pick it up, and Boggs is aboard. So we'll await the judgment from the 3 official scorers.
It's pretty apparent that Boggs was going to go to the opposite field all the way. Knight just does flick it. Santana looks like he might be able to make a play, but he can't find the handle. And Boggs is on.
With a base hit, the official score just flashing the sign. Marty Barrett hitting in the number 2 slot with Boggs aboard. Interestingly enough for Barrett, he has been on base 12 times in the World Series. He has hit in all 5, the only player to do so, and yet he has failed to score a run. Strike.
It'll be a pretty good battle because Ojeda knows that Barrett will be trying to hit that ball to the right side. He's got a hole between first and second. Hernandez has to hold Boggs on, and when you know what a hitter has to do, it gives you a bit of an edge, but it'll be a pretty good battle.
Dykstra shading him a tad towards right center. 0-1. Change hit to right center, but that's where Dykstra is. So they played him that way, and that's exactly where he hit it. 1 out, and Bill Buckner coming out.
Note that both the first 2 hitters hit the ball to the opposite field. The off-speed pitcher, they're going to try to lay back and look for that pitch and go the other way, because you know how he tied him up the last time he faced him.
So Buckner with the right side of the infield open. Hernandez on the bag guarding with Boggs. The outfield is just about straightaway. Dykstra come back over more towards straightaway than he was playing Marty Barrett.
Surprised he's not shading him towards left center field.
Boy, this crowd came here to make some noise tonight. 0-1. And that's one of the many reasons an unexpected guest at Shea Stadium. Took the expression, why don't you drop by, literally and figuratively.
That's about the only way to beat the traffic in this town.
1 ball and everybody got a kick out of it. 1-0 the count to Bill Buckner. And I'll tell you what, Wally Backman almost jumped out of his uniform when that man came down in front of him at second base.
And why not?
Oh, are they up Saturday night at Shea? 1 ball and no strikes. Ball 2.
It's not even a full moon.
Buckner having a look at Rene Latchman. Latch going through the signs. Boggs an interested spectator too at first. As you can say, they're pinching the middle. Backman way off to his right, Santana to his left. So they're both shading Buckner up the middle. And he missed him 3-0. So they're expecting Buckner to go that way. 1 out, first inning. In there.
If there would be a pitch he could pull, it would be the 3-1 pitch. But with Ojeda, his big strength is changing speeds. He'll throw you something besides the fastball when he's behind.
Three and 1. We'll watch Boggs. He's holding, and it's fouled away. 3-2. So they didn't play run and hit on that one. We'll see what they do this time. Remember, Buckner with the bad legs is a definite double play possibility. Second in the major leagues in grounding into double plays. So we'll see if that means that McNamara will turn Boggs loose.
I don't think he would, because Buck doesn't strike out that much, and he's got to stay away from a double play to get Rice up there.
In game 1, they didn't have the runner going, and Buckner hit into the double play in the first inning. Boggs is not going, then goes late, and the ball is hit to straightaway center to Dykstra. Two out in the first inning. Wade Boggs holding at first, and here is Jim Rice. Rice, 8 times an All-Star, up there in a spot in the first inning. It is interesting that Jim Rice, who is a power part of the Red Sox attack, has only had 3 at-bats in the World Series with a man in scoring position. And half of his at-bats have been leading off an inning. Fouled away, 1-1.
Even though Ojeda is not known as a power pitcher, they're playing Rice straight away. Dykstra in center field, right in line with the bag. Take a look at that. He's got a lot of room in right center and left center.
Remember, it's 338 down the lines, 371 falling away to 396, and 410 straight away center. And he came inside with the fastball. Ball 2. 2-1. On deck, Dwight Evans. Two and 1. Change, and he was way out in front of it.
That's what that fastball on the pitch before that one was so effective. He keeps him honest by coming inside. He's not afraid to come inside, but that's his best pitch, that dead fish.
Deuce is wild on Rice in the first inning. High foul off to the right and way out of play. The temperature at game time, 53 degrees. A little on the damp side. They're talking about rain perhaps sometime tomorrow. Two balls, 2 strikes. Ball 3. Tough pitch to take, borderline.
That's another one of those pitches that you're fooled, but you try to appear real cool like you saw it all the way and just take it. But he had it by him.
Boggs, of course, definitely going 2 out on a full count. Hernandez not holding, and the pitch is in the dirt. So he threw him a 3-2 change, and the Sox have 2 on, 2 out, and Dwight Evans coming up. Much has been said about Bobby Ojeda pitching on 3 days rest. 3 years ago, he pitched extra innings on 3 days rest against Milwaukee, and he certainly is accustomed to the pressure. He won the second game of the playoffs in Houston after a loss. He held off the Astros in the 6th game, and the Mets won it. He won game 3 at Fenway Park to avert the sweep, and now, of course, pitching the must game of the series for New York. 2 on, 2 out, first inning. Change, strike. A portion of the crowd is doing that sing-song Dewey for Dwight. Not nearly as strong, of course, as the Boston fans when they were serenading Darryl Strawberry. 1-1. Boggs at second, Rice at first, 2 out. High drive up the alley in left center field. That's trouble, heading for the wall and off the wall. Dykstra plays it. 1 run will score on a double by Evans, and Rice holds at third. So Dwight Evans hits the left center field wall for a long double and a run batted in. And with first base open, the left-hand hitting Rich Gedman coming up.
Ball well hit, but played perfectly by Dykstra. He gets that carom in good shape, hits the cutoff man, and with that, Latchman holds Rice at third.
So for the Mets, who won 108 during the regular season, 4 in the league championship series, 2 in the World Series, 114 wins, not enough. And they go in trailing in the first inning against Roger Clemens. Fly ball to right center, a late start, but it's high enough for Strawberry to put it away. However, the Red Sox get a run on 2 hits and lead 2. At the end of half an inning, Sox 1, Mets coming up. We have not had a team come from behind in this 1986 World Series, and the Mets are fully cognizant of that. And here are the fellas who are going to try and do it for the first time in 1986. Len Dykstra in center and Wally Backman at second base. Keith Hernandez at first and Gary Carter clean up behind the plate. Darryl Strawberry in right field. Ray Knight at third. Mookie Wilson in left field. Rafael Santana, the shortstop, batting ninth, the pitcher, Bobby Ojeda.
And the defense for the Red Sox, Rice, Henderson, and Evans in the outfield. Boggs, Owen at short, Barrett at second base, Buckner at first base, Gedman behind the plate. Clemens is on the mound. I must say, Vin, I'm still waiting for Dykstra to at least test Buckner.
Well, we see that might very well be the trick tonight. Roger Clemens is attempting to clinch his 4th championship in the last 4 years. He was the winning pitcher in the final game of the '83 College World Series. Then, while pitching for the New Britain Red Sox, he won the Eastern League Championship. In the 7th game of this year's American League Championship Series, he beat California. And, of course, now he's out there trying to clinch it for Boston tonight.
Outstanding fastball. He can ride it high, and that's the pitch. Even talking to Tom Paciorek before the game, he said, you better lay off that high fastball. He can sink it. He's got a slider, curve, a forkball, and he can work that strike zone in and out and up and down. And I think that's rare when you can work the strike zone up and down.
Well, Lenny Dykstra will be the first one to test him, followed by Wally Backman and then Keith Hernandez. Remember, where Ojeda is working on 3 days rest, Clemens is working on 5 days rest. So Dykstra right after him with a full swing.
He's going to have to work that count to 3 and 2, although Clemens has outstanding control.
0-1 to count to Lenny Dykstra. One ball, one strike. It was Dykstra who started the Mets on the road back when he hit the home run to right field at Fenway Park. And it is Dykstra they look to tonight to get them well once again. There is the attempt, but that fastball was by him, and if he did get it down, it would have gone more to third than to first.
Clemens, in addition to being a good fielder, better than average, has that outstanding fastball, a difficult ball to bunt. They describe Clemens very simply. He's an ordinary pitcher with a 150-mile-an-hour fastball.
Very ordinary. 1-2 the count.
He is something.
2 balls, 2 strikes. You joined us late. Dwight Evans doubled in Wade Boggs, and the Sox lead 1-0. We're in the bottom of the first inning. 2-2. Got him.
And he did it with fastballs. He did not give him any off-speed pitches or anything but that great fastball.
So Dykstra caught looking for out number 1.
And watch where he spots it. That's no accident.
1 away, and Wally Backman coming up, and another threat to bunt. Wade Boggs plays him on the grass. Barrett is at the ready to charge because of the immobility of Bill Buckner.
He and Buckner got a defense set up.
Fouled away, and he was jammed and late. When Backman bunts, he's a .500 hitter. He went 10 for 20 this year when he gets that bunt down for a base hit. On deck, Keith Hernandez. Boy, Shea Stadium is just bristling with electricity and excitement. In there, strike 2.
I tell you, Gedman has a big mitt. I saw it before every game, and I can hear that fastball pop up here. That's like throwing a marshmallow into a pillow, and he can make it pop. That tells you, radar gun doesn't have to tell you how hard he's throwing. He is really pumping.
0-2. Fouled away off third, well back into the crowd. The Mets have not been retired in order in the first inning since game 1. And Clemens blew Dykstra away, and he has the count 0-2 on Backman. Hit foul down the left field line, back in the crowd.
Broke his bat, and he just laid the bat on the ball. That was not even a full swing.
Wasn't a real jam job, but it did the job anyway. He has to get another. No balls and 2 strikes to Wally Backman. Davy Johnson, as he said in his conversation with Joe before the start of the game, did not have a pre-game meeting because, as he said, I've told the ball club 60 times a year. They know what it's about. So there was no meeting, no exhortation, no pep talk. But John McNamara, I'm sure whatever he did say was low-key and brief.
Most important thing he said is Roger Clemens pitching, and the Red Sox know all year when he's out there it's going to be a close ball game.
0-2 to Backman. Got him, and he took something off that off-speed pitch for strike 3. So Dykstra and now Backman caught looking. Take another look at that one.
You can see almost in his delivery that he lets up. He doesn't really push off as hard, and Backman is committed, and there's nothing he can do. Just can't pull the trigger.
Clemens was rather outspoken about the fact he's unhappy with the mound. He feels it's high and slopes too much, so he has to grope for the ground in his follow-through. But it's not a bad beginning with 2 strikeouts on a mound you don't like.
That kind of stuff, he can pitch anywhere.
Here's Hernandez. Keith was reminding everybody before the ball game that he was a member of the St. Louis Cardinals that were down 3-2 in the '82 World Series. And as Hernandez says, I'm wearing a ring. 1-0. Fouled away. Roger Clemens, with 5 days or more of rest, is unbeatable so far. 9-0. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2. 1-0 Red Sox, first inning. On deck, Gary Carter.
Whenever your club scores a run, you have to go out there on defense like the Red Sox. You don't want them to score, but how you get them out is also important.
He had a good swing and a good fastball on the count 2-2.
If he goes according to that graphic and strikes out the side, what a lift that'll be to the Red Sox.
And remember, there were 2 balls hit pretty well to straightaway center, a double off the wall and a high fly ball to right, so the Sox were hitting the ball out of the infield. And that's hit out of the infield, but right there is Dave Henderson. So Hernandez is gone, so are the Mets, in order. And at the end of an inning, it's the Red Sox 1 and the Mets nothing. The 1982 team photo of the University of Texas baseball team, and 3 men have emerged to the World Series. Number 1, Roger Clemens. Number 2, Calvin Schiraldi. And number 3, Spike Owen.
I think it's a tribute to all the college coaches. Cliff Gustafson coaches the University of Texas, but so many good coaches. What a quick trip it is to the big leagues now. There they were 82 in college, and here they are in the World Series.
Dave Henderson, followed by Spike Owen and then Roger Clemens. Interestingly enough, Henderson has started more games in center field for Boston in the postseason than he did in the regular season. Ball 1. And as you can see, he is enjoying every minute of it.
It's a pretty good reason to start him, those 4-4s.
And now 2 balls and no strikes. Ojeda surrendered a walk to Rice, and then the double by Evans for a run. And he's behind now 3-0 to Henderson.
That's not the way he pitches. He's usually ahead.
When he pitched game 3, and Mel Stottlemyre knows full well about that. You might remember Bobby Ojeda went 7 innings in game 3. And in that game, he faced 28 batters, and only 7 balls, including the hits, were hit to the outfield. Well, in the first inning, 3 balls were hit for outs and the double, so 4 went to the outfield. There's a 5th one, and we're only in the 2nd inning. Mookie Wilson. So this is not the same Ojeda that we saw in Game 3.
And I think that's a pretty good indication right there, Vin, because Henderson was fooled on that pitch. Believe me, he was fooled because he already committed himself and got that bat. He did it all with his arms, and it carried that far. I mean, he doesn't really drive it, but that's not the good Henderson swing. He'd already committed himself, and he drove it a long way.
How about the ball he hit against Donnie Moore? That wasn't a good swing. That fork ball that didn't, and yet he hit that thing out.
Yeah, but he's
so strong.
But he had a better swing at that Donnie Moore than this one.
Here's Spike Owen with 1 out, 2nd inning, 1-0 Boston. Near ball 1.
At best, he doesn't have a picture swing.
No. The cluster of balloons that we saw in Boston has suddenly reappeared over Shea. In there. 1-1. Spike Owen. Roger Clemens on deck. Comebacker right through the legs of Ojeda into center field. To a 1-out single by Spike Owen. That is hit number 3 for the Sox, and it will bring up Clemens.
Looked like a breaking ball, and he sends it right back up the middle. He waits on it, Owen does. You see it. Now watch him hit down on it. Right back up the middle. It's a goal right through the wicket. And with him on at first base, Clemens now gets a chance to help himself by bunting him over, and Hernandez has already set up his defense. He'll be charging pretty hard.
In his previous game here at Shea, Clemens' first at bat found Owen at first, and he was allowed to swing 2-0, which shocked everybody, and he eventually was aboard on an error. Strike. He had 3 trips to the plate in that game. He was aboard on an error, sacrifice, and flied to right.
You have to be careful of Hernandez at first base, because when he goes in and talks to the pitcher, he may say, now on the second pitch, I'll go in a couple steps and go back. You have to be really leery of him. He's always in the game.
Ray Knight way in on the grass at third and committed to come in even more.
There it was.
Oh, 0-1 to Roger Clemens. He's swinging and fouled it away. Remember, they let him swing 2-0 in that game. That's why we brought it up, and sure enough, he hacked away. 0-2.
I have to believe that John turned him loose trying to pick a pitch, and he picked a pretty good one at that, because it was an off-speed pitch, as we look at Lashman flashing a series of signs. And Hernandez once again in talking to his pitcher.
0-2 to Clemens. Owen held on at first. A gap in left center. Dykstra shading and cheating, and Knight ready to charge anyway. And the bunt is fouled, and Clemens has struck out. Two down in the second inning, and that will bring up Wade Boggs, who singled off and under Ray Knight's glove to open up the game, and eventually came around to score.
If he's looking for a particular pitch, if he gets that slow curveball, he'll try to pull it in a hole first and second. Otherwise, that fastball, he'll go the opposite field.
Big breaking ball, and Boggs takes away ball 1. Knight way off the line, and Santana is shading up the middle. And he fouled it off. 1 ball, 1 strike. One run, 3 hits for the Red Sox. Nothing across for the Mets, and we're in the top of the second. There goes Owen, and there's a base hit through the hole, vacated by Backman. On his way to third is Owen, and they'll hold him on a strong throw by Strawberry that's cut off by Hernandez. What a job of execution. Backman broke to cover second, and Boggs drilled it right to the vacated spot.
And it was a slow curveball, a ball that he can handle. Now he starts, and Owen gets a pretty good jump. Now you see the ball shooting by him, a slow curveball. He was able to pull it, and you can see Backman over near the bag.
Well, you try and outguess Boggs, and you figure left-hand hitter, maybe he's going to go the other way again. So you have the second baseman cover, and he burns you. And now here is Marty Barrett, who lined out in the first inning to Dykstra. Change for a strike.
Pretty apparent that McNamara is using strategies, picking pitches. He did on Clemens, and he did on Boggs, and he did with Owens running.
Boggs at first, Owen at third, 2 out. Showed him the fastball, 1 ball and 1 strike.
When they talk about Ojeda, they talk about him. He has to sell his fastball. He has to show you enough of his fastball that you go with his arm speed. And if he sells you that, then he can throw that off-speed pitch, and he's got you. But here's a tough hitter who can go the opposite field with him.
1-1. And he goes foul, trying to take him to right field. 1-2. The Sox scored in the first inning, but they left 2. They've left 11 men on base in each of the last 2 games. And they've averaged a little more than 9, almost 10 men left on base in each game of the series. One and 2, and the Mets fans want an out. Line drive to left, and it's a base hit. Scoring is Owen, stopping at second is Boggs. And the Sox are on top 2-0.
And once again, Marty Barrett's right in the middle of it.
For Davy Johnson and the Mets, they can't afford to fall back too much, especially with Roger Clemens on the mound for Boston. So immediately there'll be activity in the Mets bullpen.
I tell you, you watch that Marty Barrett, and then you think about him on the pregame show. As we look at Aguilera, when he said Thurman Munson may be looking down thinking one of the big hitters that should break his record, but I did it.
Spike Owen coming in with run number 2 in the inning. So it is a different Bobby Ojeda indeed, and the tip-off, as we said, the ball's in the first inning that were hit out of the infield. 2-0 Red Sox, and here is Buckner, who flied to center in the first inning, with Boggs at second and Barrett at first. That hit and run play was a key play so far. And that's driven to right, but Strawberry going back almost turned the wrong way and makes the catch. That ball fooled him, but Darrell stayed with it and made the play. 1 run, 3 hits, 2 more left for the Sox. That makes it 4. Now he has to twist and go back to get it. And at the end of an inning and a half, 2-0 Boston. At 6-6, he was able to reach up and pull it down. The Red Sox leading the Mets 2-0 in the bottom of the second inning, and a couple of the outs have been hit right on the button. The line drive by Barrett in the first inning, and the last out by Buckner in the second. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. Ojeda has been shaky, and Rick Aguilera continues to throw in the bullpen. So it could be that Davy Johnson is already thinking ahead for a hitter. Meanwhile, Gary Carter, Darrell Strawberry, and Ray Knight coming out. Ball 1. The Mets are accustomed to winning at Shea. They set a Mets record with 55 home victories this year. Breaking ball strike, 1-1. So it would appear as if he has command of all of them.
That was the first curveball, and where he threw that one was almost impossible to hit on that outside corner. He's had all his pitches over the plate so far.
Fastball, and now he has Carter in a hole, 1-2. Dykstra and Backman struck out. Hernandez flied out. And now Carter leading off the second inning.
It'll be interesting to see how he works on Carter as we look at Darryl Strawberry, because you remember they're spotting that ball the outside part of the plate, and when they do that, they've been effective against Carter.
On the hand, so he had to come in, and Gary had a pretty good rip, and it's still 1-2.
That's that high fastball, a tough pitch to hit off Roger Clemens. Again, he works that strike zone up and down, and it's a rare pitcher indeed who can control that much of the strike zone.
1-2. Fastball fouled away.
See where those foul balls are going?
Off to the right. He's not getting around on it.
They're just not getting around. The gun says 96, but I'll tell you, the catcher's mitt tells a pretty good story when he gets it, because it's just popping in there.
Two and 2. 2-0 Boston. Bottom of the second inning. Ball 3. And that's fouled away off to the right. In fact, Gary was a little out in front of that pitch. He was guessing, and he hit it more at the end of the bat. So you know how hard Clemens is throwing. The hitters are really off stride with him. Outfield straight away. High pop foul off to the left. Gedman coming over along with Wade Boggs at the dugout. No play. That will give us a chance just to mention that Rick Aguilera has stopped throwing in the Mets bullpen.
They're not going to give up on the foul balls very soon in this ballpark because the wind swirls. Watch Gedman. He knows he's near the dugout. He just found it right there, so he's going to tiptoe a little bit, but he knows he can't get it.
3-2 to Gary Carter. And that's hit to center. Going back on it is Henderson to haul it in. So Carter hit it fairly hard, but right at the center fielder. One down. And Darryl Strawberry coming out. Ball 1. One away, second inning. Red Sox 2, Mets nothing. On deck, Ray Knight.
Well, if he's ever going to get a fastball, this would be it. You can't really be guaranteed that, but Strawberry will be looking for it. He's way ahead of him. 2 balls and no strikes.
There it is, and he was a little late. It was in a good spot, and he couldn't get around on it.
Strength against strength, and he just didn't get around on it. And 2 balls and no strikes. Pull hitter, a guy who can hit the low fastballs, a tip off on how hard Roger is throwing.
2-1. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 2-0 Boston, second inning. Ball 3.
Jim Murray once used a line on Nolan Ryan that you could use on Clemens. He pitches like everybody forgot to bring their glove.
He's something. 3-2 to Darryl Strawberry. Fouled away. Remember, he went 3-2 to Carter, and now it comes back 3-2 to Strawberry. High pop foul off Thel. As good an indication as we have in the early going, at least, is the inability for the moment of the hitters to get around on Clemens.
And it's pretty apparent that that ball, not only is it hard and fast, there's movement on it. I mean, so far, even though Carter hit that 3-2 pitch after a couple foul balls hard, that ball's alive.
3-2. So he had Dykstra and Backman strikeout. Hernandez a fly ball to left center. Carter a fly ball to center. And Strawberry working on a full count. And fouled off to the left.
And Gedman just goes down and puts down fastball as if they've said, hey, look, we're not going to walk anybody. He's just coming in with that good fastball. Strawberry seems to know it's going to be a fastball and can't get the job done.
I think he's thrown one breaking ball and one straight change so far. However, he's made 20 pitches in this inning.
Most of them strikes.
Right.
He's not wide.
3-2. First base runner. So Strawberry at first with one out in the second inning, and Ray Knight the batter. Little breaking ball, but it stayed up. Ball one, 1-0.
Sometimes you do that to kind of break the rhythm that Roger Clemens was in of nothing but fastballs. Remember, Davey Johnson used Howard Johnson against Clemens, and Knight was very unhappy. He wanted a chance at him, and here it is.
On the corner with a breaking ball, 1-1. So Roger Clemens went to a full count on back-to-back hitters, walked Strawberry, missed with the breaking ball tonight, and came back with one for a strike, and the count 1-1. Ball two. Davey Johnson, amidst the noise, quietly hoping that his Mets will do what they've done all year, and McNamara relying on his ace. Fastball. That was one of those borderline pitches that just takes off.
There's no way you're going to hit that Roger Clemens fastball there, because it's a high riding fastball. He throws it across seams, and it seems to bend in the middle. It gets maybe 4 feet from the plate and just shoots right straight up.
Boy, I'll tell you one thing. It is goosebump time at Shea. This crowd is electric. 2-2. Strawberry goes. Strike three on a bad ball. He's in there, second base safely. Knight chased two high fastballs to strike out.
And Marty Barrett at second base really tried to decoy Strawberry. The key to this, watch how Barrett nonchalantly goes into second base and takes the throw. He's not just standing there and then walks into it and tries to make the tag, and he thought he had him. Strawberry, a straight steal. He's one of those fellas that Johnson says, go when you got a chance. Barrett really did a job of decoying, but Strawberry didn't go for it. He didn't buy the decoy, and he's safe.
And Clemens got away with it. Two rising fastballs out of the strike zone, and Knight chased them both. So instead of perhaps 2 on and 1 out, you have 2 out, a runner at second, and here is Mookie. Ball 1. He wouldn't chase that fastball. Most of the hitters in the American League, I think, fall into the pattern. If that fastball is anywhere above the belt, they lay off it. It's going to explode and sail on you.
It's alive. It's alive.
One ball, one strike. Clemens with 2 strikeouts in the first inning, making a lot of pitches. Again, he's a big man working on 5 days rest. 1-1. Fouled away, and Mookie didn't get around on that. It almost knocked the bat out of his hand.
And that it did. He made 143 pitches in the playoffs. So, I mean, and 5 days rest. It's like Ojeda said. I really think a lot of that stuff right now, especially tonight, it's overrated. 3 days rest, number of pitches. If the Mets lose tonight, they got 6 months to rest. And you know that Clemens is out there saying, I'm going to try to end it tonight. So forget all that other stuff.
1-2. Got him on the corner. 4 strikeouts for Roger Clemens. At the end of 2-0 Boston. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Roger Clemens, now he'll get a handshake from her saying nice going, but watch him. He's searching the bench for his catcher Gedman. There's Bill Fisher, and there's Gedman, because they worked that inning well. Great picture.
To the 3rd inning. Jim Rice, Dwight Evans, and Rich Gedman. 2-0 Boston. Fouled away off to the right, out of play. The Sox have jumped on Ojeda. 2 runs, 5 hits, 2 line drive outs. All 3 outs in the first inning were balls hit to the outfield. 2 of the 3 in the second. So Ojeda is not pitching his game. Fouled away, 0-2.
You know, when I see that picture, Vin, not that I was in it that many times, but when you work an inning and you're really working in sync, the one guy you want to have tell you, hey, good job, is the pitcher. Everything else is mashed potatoes. And that's what Clemens did.
0-2 to Jim Rice. 0-1. Rice walked with 2 out and a runner at first in the first inning. That set the stage for Evans to unload a long double to drive in Boggs. Big change curveball, got him looking. Oh, what a rainbow job that was.
And there's the case of selling the fastball, watching the motion, and watch Ojeda. It is a big curveball. You can see him twisted, and Rice is just completely frozen.
Strikeout number 2 for Ojeda. The other one was Clemens trying to bunt. And here is Evans. Hit that long double high off the left center field wall in the first inning. The outfield fanned out straight away. Backman is playing just about on the rim over to his right. He's directed from the dugout. Breaking ball, 1-1.
You know, as you watch Backman at second base, it's kind of a dark park, and he really has to stare in to get the signs. He really bears down. He was almost like bent over. There he goes. He's trying to get Carter's signs. He has to know what the pitch is.
Fastball missed, ball 2, 2-1.
When you have an off-speed pitcher with the left hand here, he'll relay it to Hernandez, who depends on him for that. Santana's passing it on tonight.
2-1. Straight change, and he lifts it in the air to Strawberry in right center. 2 down in the 3rd inning. And the batter will be Rich Gedman, who flied to right in the first inning. when Ojeda was with Boston. He was quoted as saying that Gedman was his closest pal on the team. Half swing on that low breaking ball for a strike.
That friendship really ceases in a hurry in a World Series, doesn't it?
A young man who has had his shot and came up empty 4 times, which is shocking in itself. Dwight Gooden. On 1. Another breaking ball. Bobby Ojeda trying to settle down after a rocky first 2 innings. And another breaking ball and a check swing foul. Blatch handling that. Still 0-2. It is a completely different game. You might have seen Ojeda look out and shake his head at Backman. In his other game against the Sox, he had a lot of ground balls. He hadn't had one yet. Got him on the big sweeping curve. 3 strikeouts for Ojeda. The crowd trying to spur him on now, and at the end of 2 1/2, the Red Sox 2, the Mets nothing. He's out on deck as Rafael Santana checks in at the plate. Ball on the corner. Strike 1. Boston 2, Mets nothing. Bottom of the 3rd. Fouled away, and again off to the right. We haven't seen anybody pull a Clemens pitch yet. Breaking ball in the dirt. 1-2. Sox scored in the 1st and 2nd. The Mets have had 1 base runner, Strawberry, who walked in the 2nd.
Pretty good tip off on how fast he is. Henderson is way over in right center field. A lot of room in left center. They don't expect him to pull it all.
Just missed with the fastball. He wanted that, and the count 2-2. Clemens has struck out 4. Bobby Ojeda has now struck out 3. Pop off to the right, twisting towards the stands and out of play. If for some reason you missed it in the 1st inning, Boggs singled off third baseman Ray Knight's glove. Rice walked with 2 out, and Evans doubled in Boggs. In the 2nd inning, Owens singled and with 2 out. A hit and run single by Boggs put runners at 1st and 3rd, and Barrett singled in a run, and that's it. 2-0 Boston, bottom of the 3rd. Fouled up the other way.
He pulled the emergency cord with that one. Just enough to stay alive. It was by him, but then again, that's what you're supposed to do.
Two and 2. And that's it, foul the other way. I guess the first time we see anybody pull one outside of the 3rd, we're going to say he's losing his stuff.
Well, it's almost a story about the guy who pitches a no-hitter and one guy hits foul. I said, never mind the pitcher, get the guy who hit the ball foul. The guy that pulls it is going to make the story.
2 and 2. Breaking ball got him. So with all the smoke, he strikes out number 5 with a curve.
And he does such a tremendous job, Vin, of keeping that leadoff man off base. You're always with 1 out, it seems like. There's the curveball. And if you don't think that's a tough job after he's been firing 96-mile-an-hour fastballs, that you have to hang in there and try to hit that curveball.
Well, here's Bobby Ojeda facing a man who averages almost 9 strikeouts a game this year. And he starts him with the fastball.
He had a pretty good cut at that ball.
He sure did. On 1. And another. Ojeda only walked once all year, and he strikes out more than any other Mets pitcher during the regular year, so he's in trouble. 1-2. Bad pitch, strikeout number 6, and 3 in a row for Clemens. Again, a hitter chasing that explosive fastball that goes high and away out of the strike zone. With 2 out, Lenny Dykstra, who led off the game and struck out. And he starts him with the fastball.
And a strike.
So Knight, Wilson, Santana, Ojeda have all bitten the dust after Dykstra and Backman open up the game on strikeout. 0-1. Foul the other way. And it's 0-2 again. The man who struck out 20 and didn't walk a batter has struck out a half a dozen, and we're in the 3rd. Change that time, took a lot off the fastball. 1-2. Wally Backman on deck.
With the 2 strikeouts, here's where he wants to make it happen right here. He doesn't want Dykstra on.
And as a one-hopper to shortstop, little English on it, but Owen throws him out, and the Mets are gone and ordered. And at the end of 3, Clemens has struck out 6, not allowed a hit. 2-0 Boston. Two to nothing Boston, top of the 4th inning, with Henderson, Owen, and Clemens due up. Henderson flied to left in the 2nd inning. Ball 1. One and 0. Evens it up. And a good change following another good change, and the count 1-2.
That's that dead fish that Dave Johnson talks about, and talked about it in the pregame.
The infield swung over a little bit towards 3rd. The outfield straightaway. Backman very deep and on the rim. 1-2. Pulled, foul outside of 3rd. Still 1-2. Red Sox making what has turned out to be a good deal. Dave Henderson and Spike Owen for Mike Brown, Ray Quinones, and Mike Trujillo. And Henderson and Owen certainly making sizable contributions. 1-2 in the dirt. Paid attendance tonight 55,078. 55078. 2-2. And a busted bat, fly ball to shallow center. Dykstra coming on to make the catch. You wouldn't think an off-speed pitch would shatter a bat. That thing broke in 4 pieces. just disintegrated.
It looked like he hit it right off the end of the bat. And once again, he was completely off stride. Ojeda with that slow change of pace, and Dykstra, a tough play because you go by the big swing of the bat playing deep, and he had a home run swing, hit it on the end of the bat, and Bott dunked one in there.
So the batter is the shortstop, Spike Owen, single to center in the second inning. One out, fourth inning, 2-0 Red Sox. And base hit into left field. Though we still haven't seen a Red Sox batter hit one on the ground for an out. And that's very much unlike Ojeda. And Hernandez to the mound. Owen is 2 for 2.
Boston pitcher Roger Clemens.
6 hits for Boston. Here's Clemens coming up. Tried to sacrifice, swung once, and then bunted foul. Knight looking bunt. He's halfway into the plate. You know, that's tough being a third baseman with an off-speed pitcher and right-hand hitters. I don't care if he is a pitcher. You're coming in there and he's liable to rearrange your molars.
You have to know when he's changing speeds.
Boy, oh boy, you better know. In the air, foul, Carter.
I tell you, his coach must be just jumping up and down because not a very good attempt. It was an easy play. Everybody could have made that play. Ojeda, Hernandez, Carter, Bat Boy.
You know what's interesting, and it's one of those amazing angles in this series. Roger Clemens' coach at San Antonio Junior College is a former New York Met by the name of Wayne Graham. He was one of 78 third basemen used by the Mets. He played, I think, about 64. He played in 20 games. So there's so many threads involving these two teams. Here's Boggs, singled off Knight's glove and single to right. Fouled off. That was a big play in the second inning. The hit and run single with 2 out. Backman broke the cover and Boggs drilled it right at the second base hole. Oh and 1. High bouncer over the mound, but Santana says he has it, and he goes to first for the out. No runs, 1 hit, the first ground ball for Ojeda. At the end of 3 1/2, 2-0 Boston.
Here's a game within the game. Dykstra is the batter, and he gets him with the fastball. Watch him tail it away. Catch that outside corner. There it is. It's not the high rider. Now Backman, it's a curveball strike. Mookie Wilson tails it away. He's made 61 pitches, Vin, 42 strikes, 19 balls, 5 of the 10 first pitches have been for strikes.
Well, the Mets crowd exhorting Backman, Hernandez, and Carter to try and break the magic spell of Roger Clemens. No hits in 3 innings.
He's got to try to bunt to get something started. They've got to get this Met ball club. He's got to kick started somehow, some way, because with 3 innings, 6 strikeouts, he has really been in control.
Backman struck out in the first inning. Strike. You know, Roger Clemens only lost once on the road this year. That was he's ejected by umpire Greg Kosk in Chicago for a call at first base in the 5th inning. What a record. The only time you lose, you get kicked out of the game. Fly ball slicing to left, but Rice has room.
You know, it's easy to look at a Roger Clemens and say, well, he must have had that kind of stuff all along. But the scout who signed him, and I was talking to Eddie Casco about it, was Danny Doyle, an old catcher. I played against Danny. And he said, Casco was telling me, he called him up and he said, we got to sign Clemens. Casco said, how much? And the scout said, I don't care. Sign him. I'll put my job on the line.
And as you tell that story, there's a scout in Michigan named Jim Terrell who scouts for the Mets, who must shake his head and think about the big one that got away. Over $5,000. Ball one. Joe McElwain finally went down to look at Clemens on 2 different weekends to decide whether to pay him the $25,000, and the games were rained out each time. And Joe came back and said, well, I guess some things are not meant to be. Hernandez flied to center in the first inning. He would not go after that pitch up. Ball 2.
That's the one they have to lay off.
On deck, Gary Carter. 2-0 Boston, bottom of the 4th. Popped in the air, off third. Boggs coming over as the ball slices away. He can't get it. The first thing Hernandez did, he had a very brief chat with the plate umpire Dale Ford, and you could bet the house he said to Ford, did I swing at a strike? And Ford nodded yes. And the count 2-1. And another fisted foul. Boggs might have a play. Leans in. Help him out of there, Harry. He got it. Harry Wendelstedt had to lift him out of the crowd.
And that fastball was just a little bit higher as we look at Boggs. Now he finds the stands. He looks again. He finds it and reaches over and watch Wendelstedt. He's staying right with him. He wants to see if that ball's there. Now a fan can knock it out of his hands because he's reached into the stands. That would be okay. No interference. But he shows him the ball.
They got the right umpire to do the job of lifting him out.
He could lift 2 or 3 of those photographers.
Gary Carter, ball 1.
In that sequence on Hernandez, you could see him climb the ladder.
2 out, 4th inning, 2-0 Red Sox. Breaking ball missed, 2-0. On deck, Darryl Strawberry. Now Hernandez swung 2-0 and fouled it off. That was the pitch he questioned Ford as to whether he swung at a strike or not. Let's see about Carter. Out in front, fouled it off to the right out of play. He knew he could hit. He was guessing fastball and he couldn't wait.
You're always hitting when you walk in the batter's box. I mean, there's no signal from the coach. 2 balls and no strikes, 3-1. You look at the coach, 3-0-2 for that matter, and the coach will give you hit or take. A guy like Carter, I doubt if since the playground days did he ever get a take sign. 2-0. So you guess for a pitch. He guessed and still couldn't do anything with it.
2-1. Two and 2. Two runs, 6 hits for Boston. No runs, no hits for the Mets. 2 out. Just missed with the fastball. Well, he goes all the way. The Mets have had 1 base runner. That was Strawberry, who walked in the 2nd inning. Carter's trying to get on and make Strawberry the tying run. Hit a breaking ball off the end of the bat, and Clemens takes care of him. The Carter, badly fooled, hits back to the box, and the Mets are gone again. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Roger Clemens is the star of the night up to here. He is not allowed a hit. He has walked 1, struck out 6, and retired 8 in a row. The only Mets base runner, Strawberry, who walked and stole second base. It's Marty Barrett, Bill Buckner, and Jim Rice in the 5th inning. Strike. Barrett lined out to center in the 1st inning and then singled a left in the 2nd. He has hit in all 6, but has not scored a run. There's another base hit for Barrett, and he's 2 for 3. 7 hits against Bobby Ojeda. Ojeda is due to bat 5th when the Mets come up in the 5th inning.
Knight in a couple steps, protected against a possible bunt by him, and once again Barrett is on, and Buckner taking a lot of time getting in there, giving third base coach Rene Latchman a chance to put on a sign. because they certainly have a combination where they can try things.
Buckner flied to center and then drilled one in the second inning. Strawberry, after turning the wrong way, then turned the other way and made a fine catch. And he's going to have to make another. That ball is hit to deep right. And Darrell is there. Good play. And Marty Barrett back to first. So Buck is 0 for 3, but he has taken Ojeda deep twice.
The next batter, left fielder, Jim Rice.
1 out, and Jim Rice coming up. Rice has walked and struck out. 0 for 1. The only ground ball off the Red Sox bat, hit by Boggs in the 4th inning when he rolled it to Santana up the middle. Change, ball 1.
It was that big slow curveball that got Rice last time on a called 3rd strike.
Fastball, that's hit to right, but Strawberry has it all the way. 2 down.
And stepping up, right fielder, Dwight Evans.
Here's Dwight Evans. If you remember when Bobby Ojeda pitched in the playoff game against Houston in Game 6, he gave up 3 runs and was behind to the Astros and Bob Nepper 3-0. And then the Mets magic as they fought back with Dykstra's pinch hit triple, a 16-inning game, and the Mets wind up in the World Series because of it. Well, Ojeda is down 2-0. We're in the 5th. Dwight Evans doubled in a run and flied to right. Two and 0. Standing at first, Marty Barrett. He's 2 for 3 tonight. Check swing foul off to the right, out of play, and the count 2-1 to Evans. Sox with a run in the 1st inning. Evans doubled it in, and another in the 2nd on 3 singles. Barrett single, picking up Spike Owen. Ball 3. Barrett looking across at Latchman to see if they're going to play run and hit with Evans. 3 balls and 1 strike. Barrett's not going. On ball 4. So Ojeda walks his 2nd man. 2 on, 2 out, and Rich Gedman coming up. He's flied to right, and you remember struck out on 3 big curveballs in the 3rd inning.
Now Gedman has to be looking for that curveball, but Ojeda's got to say, well, until he hits it, I'm going to keep throwing it to him.
I would think so. Santana and Backman have a very quick meeting.
Sign switching.
Barrett at 2nd, Evans at 1st, 2 out in the 5th. 2-0 Red Sox. See if he starts some curveball. Yep. That's 4 in a row to Gedman. 0-1 to count.
There's 2 schools of thought. Some say, well, the hitter's looking for it. I always felt, hey, until he hits it, keep throwing it.
And another one that's looped to left. Mookie is there. So the Red Sox, as they've done throughout the series, lead 2 more. They've left 7, and it's still 2-0. In the bottom of the 5th inning, the Mets will have Darryl Strawberry, Ray Knight, followed by Mookie Wilson.
Clemens in 4 innings has made 73 pitches, 49 strikes, 24 balls, 6 of the 13 first pitches strikes.
And he is not allowed to hit. He's had one base runner. That's when he walked Strawberry in the second inning. Ball one. Change, and it's hit in the air and slicing foul away from Jim Rice and back into the seats. 1 ball, 1 strike. Sox a run in the first, a run in the second, and that's it. Bottom of the 5th. The totals tell the story. Clemens has retired 8 in a row. Last man to get on was Strawberry, the only man to get on. Now that was a classic example, as you see Santana and Carter studying. Strawberry laid off that fastball that sailed up and out of the strike zone. 2-1. And another one. Those are the same pitches that Ray Knight chased when he struck out.
It's the easiest pitch in the world to see, and that's why you chase it, but it's the most difficult to hit.
So Knight trying to go to school on Strawberry. 3-1 to count. Ball 4. Strawberry stole second in the second inning, and while Buckner had him busily engaged, he might have missed a sign. That's why he's looking over there. Buckner is the town visitor. He went over and talked to Bill Robinson, and I think he had misdirected Strawberry's attention. And Darrell finally had to really appeal to Harrelson to repeat the sign.
You would think that Knight would just be taken to see what happens here after that base on balls.
Knight struck out in the second inning. 2-0 Sox. Bottom of the 5th. Mets trying to come back. Fouled away. Knight and Strawberry again taking a long look at Harrelson. Slicing down the right field line and out of play. So now Knight in the hole, 0-2. On deck, Mookie Wilson. Away.
He didn't try to work on it. He thought maybe he'd go for that high fastball that Knight chased the last time, but he just went right in the strike zone with him.
In the 5th inning, we're a couple of hitters away from Bobby Ojida's spot. Roger McDowell begins to loosen up in the Mets bullpen. 0-2. Breaking ball. 1-2 the count to Ray. There's McDowell. It's a little early to see Roger, but then again, it's getting so very, very late. And Davey and Mel Stottlemyre know it. 1-2. Strawberry goes. Fastball in the dirt. Gedman's throw. He's in there. Spike Owen's glove, and I thought maybe the shortstop might try the hidden ball trick. Watch. Now Owen has it, but Strawberry evidently was aware of it. It'll go right out of Barrett's glove. And now he sees him pick it up. To number 22, Ray Knight. Hit up the middle, base hit. Here comes Strawberry, and he will score. So on their first hit, the Mets get their first run. Red Sox 2, Mets 1, nobody out. The tying run at first, and the batter, Mookie Wilson. And this crowd going wild.
It was a curveball that Ray Knight hit. He really stayed with it. Looking bunt.
Santana on deck. Two bad hacks and the count 0-2. Those fastballs have just thoroughly fooled him. They're way up and out of the strike zone. But of course, that's part of the mastery of Roger Clemens. Mookie struck out in the second inning. Ball one. One and two. Ball two. He certainly doesn't want to go 3-2 with Knight at first. Fouled away. The Mets with a run on a walk, stolen base, and a single by Ray Knight. The Sox leading 2-1. We're only in the fifth inning. Fouled away again. Boy, I tell you, he's throwing a lot of pitches. As big and as strong as he is, that's a lot.
He's not wild. They're just fouling off so many pitches, but it'll take its toll.
Breaking ball hit into right field. Knight to second base will hold, and when Evans bobbles, he goes to third. Who committed only 5 errors all year and only 2 since the middle of July, has allowed the tying run to get 90 feet away with nobody out, and Danny Heap will come up to bat for Rafael Santana. John McNamara on his way out to the mound.
The curveball is the pitch that is hurting in this inning. His fastball had been fouling off. He threw a curveball tonight. He got to base it up the middle. Mookie was behind on his fastball. He threw the curveball. He singled into right field. So it's a case now of McNamara trying to settle his young pitcher down. Nobody out. First and third.
Strawberry walked and stole second. Knight got the first hit for the Mets to break the no-hitter as he singled up the middle to score Strawberry. Wilson hit a breaking ball for a single to right, and Knight takes third on the error. Here's the pitch to Mookie. Breaking ball, and he stayed right on it. So Danny Heap will come up to bat for Santana with the time run 90 feet away and nobody out.
And Heap is a good fastball hitter.
A lot of meetings. Barrett goes over to talk to Buckner, and now Marty goes back to his depth. 2-1 Red Sox, and the Mets try to catch him here in the fifth inning. Mookie at first, Knight at third. Sammy Stewart begins to throw in the shadows of the Red Sox bullpen. A fake and another fake. Naturally, the crowd hollers boy, like night follows day. He was well off the rubber. Ball two, high fastball.
Now it's strength against strength.
Wilson at first, Knight at third, nobody out. Clemens in trouble, 2 balls and no strikes to Danny Heap. Check swing, foul. The crowd was chanting Roger, trying to return the Darrell up at Fenway Park. Second for one to first, double play. However, Knight scores to tie it up. So the error by Dwight Evans has given the Mets the run. Otherwise, Knight would be now at third. Dwight, as we said, had committed only 2 errors since July. And the batter, Bob Ojeda, who has found himself even 2-2. Ojeda struck out in the 3rd inning. We saw McDowell throwing back of him. It's a little early to see Roger, and now that they have caught the Sox, they have the luxury of staying with Ojeda.
And no one on base.
0-2.
You have to believe, again, without the error, and if Knight would be on now, you might see a pinch hitter, but with no one on, Ojeda gets a chance to bat.
To look ahead for the Sox, Henderson, Owen, and Clemens due up in the 6th inning. 0-1. It is the first catch-up game we've had. The Sox led 2-0, and for the first time, a team has caught a leader. Ground ball to Marty Barrett. And that's it. But the Mets get 2, and they are alive and well. And the crowd is on its feet at Shea at the end of 5. A 2-2 tie. Here Here's a key play in that 5th inning involving Dwight Evans.
He's got his glove down, and it just seems to take almost like a little bit of a bad hop, but he's watching that runner all the way, which may be a factor. I'll tell you, it was just a funny way for him to feel that ball.
And it allowed Knight to get to second, eventually to third, where he scored on the double play to tie it up. How would you like to be Kevin Elster? He is 22 years old. He was drafted by the Mets 2 years ago. Came up from Jackson AA, and he's the shortstop in a must-win game in the World Series. And here is Dave Henderson. Henderson flied to left, flied to center, 0 for 2. Strike. Change is in there. Strike 2. Like a soap bubble, he got that thing up there.
Oh, it just floated up there.
And another change hit up the middle, and here's Elster. The 22-year-old gets him. So Kevin gets his feet wet. He was a Texas League All-Star team member this year.
And that's the best thing that can happen to the youngsters, have the first one hit to him where he really has to roam a little bit to his left. He turns it into an easy play, but I tell you, before it's hit to you, I tell you, as a catcher, you hope in a tough spot you get a foul tip. One that'll just nick you, not hurt you, to kind of wake you up, and that's what he's hoping. The ball's hit to him to get his feet wet, as you put it.
Oh, to be 22 and playing in the World Series, and you're only a pro for 2 years.
You could have stopped after 22.
Wow. Strawberry had left his position. That's why Ojeda waited for a moment. There was a door open in the bullpen, but we're ready. Spike going. Single to center, single to left. He's 2 for 2. So is Barrett, so is Boggs. Right. Roger Clemens, in case you're wondering, is out on deck.
That's the pitch that Owen has been able to hit for the base hit. Curveball he hits down on as we look at Clemens.
0-1. 1-1. Sox scored in the first and in the second. The Mets rallied for 2 in the fifth, and we're even top of the sixth. Fastball. He was late. Ground ball fielded by Hernandez, who flips it behind the pitcher covering.
Looked like Keith was a bit undecided as to how he was going to give it to Ojeda, and he'll talk to him about it. He was just kind of no man's land. Once he gets it, he kind of hesitates here. He doesn't really know what to do with it. Almost a basketball flip. And Owen is on.
And it's going to go as a base hit. The old story, it'll look like a line drive in the box score. He's 3 for 3.
He was actually moving towards third base and really couldn't get anything on that flip. And here's Clemens with another chance to bump that ball.
And remember, Wade Boggs on deck is 2 for 3. So they're looking bunt. Knight well in. Roger has struck out and fouled out. So Spike Owen 3 for 3. The Sox with 8 hits. The best pitch to bunt, of course, is a nice slow curve. So Clemens figures not to get that pitch. And the Mets are worrying about, I think, a bunt and run play maybe.
Well, there's a lot of times when you're really sure of it, you just almost say to your pitcher, just lay that ball in, or even a mediocre fastball, to make sure he bunts that ball. Now, he's doing a good thing by looking at Latchman, at least putting a thought in the minds of the Mets that they might be switching off. I would tend to doubt it.
0-1.
He's going to have a tough time moving Owen over to second base. Hernandez once again wants to talk to Ojeda, and what he does, as always, is set up his defense, whether he's going to break in on the first move or whether he's going to take 2 steps and go back on the pitch, the next pitch, or whatever. He's 2-3 pitches ahead.
And the bunt is to Hernandez. He's going to go to second just in time.
And that was a good bunt by Clemens, but Hernandez's daring is what made that play. And the difference in this play and the other one is you watch him get the ball and set himself. Now he breaks in immediately. A good bunt. Now watch him set himself now. There he does, and he gets something on the throw and gets his man.
That's the joy of a left-handed first baseman, because you don't have to turn that upper torso. You can just gun it. And when he gets his man, everybody in the ballpark knows it. Now you have Roger Clemens in the strange role of a base runner. It had been strange enough to be a batter. And Hernandez probably kidding him about it as Wade Boggs gets in. 2 for 3. Strike. Boggs singled off Knight's glove, singled to right on a hit and run play, and grounded to short, a chopper up the middle in the 4th inning. 0-1. And another breaking ball strike. 0-2.
Oh, he is like a dart thrower. He just picks his spots, lays it here, lays it there, puts a little on, takes a little off. He's all around that play.
Big breaking ball. 1-2. When the Mets bat in the bottom of the 6th inning, they'll have Len Dykstra, Wally Backman, and Keith Hernandez, and Roger McDowell is up again in the Mets bullpen. McDowell has already appeared in games 1, 3, and 4. Breaking ball just missed the outside corner.
Boy, he wanted that when you could see him shake his head. That was the pitch he wanted right there.
2-2.
It's a curveball. You see that twist. Watch his reaction. A groan.
And another one, and it's hit to second, and there's the feed to Elster. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and Shea Stadium is rocking to its foundation. We go to the bottom of the 6th in a 2-2 tie. What's that expression about 1 brick shy of a load? Clemens 1 pitch shy of averaging 20 pitches an inning, which of course would be quite a load to carry in the 9th inning.
That it would be. And if you're a fan of the radar gun, 27 pitches that Roger Clemens has made so far have been 95 miles per hour or above. But in the last 2 innings, he's only thrown 2 pitches in that range.
Remember, we told you Sammy Stewart was throwing back of him in the 5th inning. No one moving now in the Sox bullpen. However, Roger McDowell continues to throw in the Mets bullpen. For New York, Lenny Dykstra, Wally Backman, and Keith Hernandez. Bottom of the 6th in a 2-2 tie. Dykstra struck out and grounded to short, 0 for 2. Out away. Another thing, as far as the Sox are concerned, they have not made it easy for Clemens. They have left 8 men in 6 innings. Looked like Dykstra was trying to hit that low fastball to left field. 0-2. Check swing foul. Still 0-2. Two runs, 8 hits for the Sox. 2 runs, 2 hits for the Mets. Got him off speed with a little break at the tail, and Dykstra frozen at the plate. So that's the 2nd time he strikes out, and strikeout number 7 for Roger Clemens.
You almost think that he thought it was going to be the fastball, because the high fastball he wants to lay off, and it just seemed to break over the plate.
Backman struck out and flied to left, and again Boggs looks bunt. Ball one. Keith Hernandez on deck. The Mets in the 5th inning had Strawberry walk and steal second. Knight singled him home. Wilson singled. Evans Era sent Knight to third, and he scored as Heath hit into a double play. Fouled away.
See Backman talking to himself as he backs off. He tries to send that ball back up the middle. That's his target, and he can drag the ball as far as he's bunting or drop it down the third base line. He can do a lot of things in that batter's box.
1 ball, 1 strike. He was going to drag, and the pitch is low. Ball 2. 2-1.
It's been a good pitch to drag if it had been in the strike zone, because it was a off-speed curveball.
And it's hit to the hole. Smothered. A great stop by Spike Owen. Too late.
It was only Backman's hustle that made that play. Owen makes a tremendous play. Not only does he come up with the backhand from his knees and throws a strike and had pretty good stuff on it, and Backman just does beat it. He hustled all the way. It looked like a base hit from the minute he hit it, and had he stopped to watch it the split second or so, he would have been out.
So Backman singles to the hole, and that will bring up Keith Hernandez. Hernandez has flied to center and fouled out. 0 for 2.
Backman's another one of those runners that has the green light, and Davy Johnson will just let him go at any time. It doesn't necessarily demean there's a play on. He's got a green light to run whenever he thinks he can make it.
Backman stole 13 out of 20 during the regular year. 0-1. No one throwing in the Sox bullpen. Stewart was up last inning.
Look at that Buckner trying to just talk to him, break his concentration.
1 ball and no strikes. Look at Buck faking that the ball had gotten away, and Backman wouldn't go for it.
Pretty bad piece of acting. But he tried.
Yep.
Look at Backman. Backman's a bad movie, Buck.
No Oscar. 1 ball and no strikes.
He saw Backman dig in, much like Strawberry did the other time. When he dug in, it took off. What do you think?
1-0 the count to Keith Hernandez. Backman a short lead, and now right on the bag. Right. 1-1. One ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Bottom of the 6th, 2-2. Backman at first. Backman increasing that lead a little bit, and now retreats. On deck, Gary Carter. There he goes, and there's a line drive base hit. Backman on his way to third. Henderson has to throw it into first. Spike Owen was breaking to cover, and Backman has to run around him. However, Henderson couldn't come up with the ball cleanly to make a play on him anyway.
And you could see that pitch was out of the strike zone. A high fastball, and Hernandez just tomahawked it.
First and third, one out in the sixth, the 2-2 tie, and Gary Carter trying to break that tie. Way out in front of it.
Here's where Clemens has to muscle up and go for the strikeout.
Steve Crawford is now throwing in the Red Sox bullpen. Oh, 1. Fastball pop foul behind the plate and out of play. So Carter with perhaps his biggest at bat in the series right now. First and third, one out in the sixth, trying to give the Mets the momentum that the Red Sox had for the first 4 innings. Oh, 2. Got him looking outside corner.
He went with the fastball and took a shot at that outside corner. You could see Gedman give that target, and Clemens really hit it. And there's the yardstick. What do you do with the man on third base in less than 2 outs? He needed the strikeout. Look at that glove.
So now it's Darryl Strawberry front and center, and a frustrated Carter back on the pine. Strawberry has walked twice and stolen second twice. Ball 1. Strawberry has 4 hits in the series. They have all come with the bases empty. And now Buckner to the mound to talk to Clemens.
The pitch that's gotten Clemens in trouble with Strawberry has been that high fastball. Darrell's been laying off that pitch. It's out of the strike zone, and he's walked both times.
1 ball, no strikes. Ball 2.
Clemens thought it was a strike. He thought he got pinched on that one.
Two balls, no strikes. Backman down the line from third. Hernandez away from first with 2 out. Fouled away.
High fastball. That's the pitch he laid off the other 2 times.
There's Hernandez and there's Backman. The big out, of course, Gary Carter caught looking for the 8th strikeout for Roger Clemens. 2-1. Foul back, fastball, 2-2.
It was a curveball that got him in trouble with Ray Knight, and he has relied really on the fastball with Strawberry.
And Knight, of course, kneeling on deck, almost in prayer. And Gary Carter thinking about a glorious but missed opportunity. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and a 2-2 tie. Ground ball hard, but at Barrett, he hangs it to Owen for the force on Hernandez, and the Mets waste a golden chance, and Carter has to forget about it. We'll be back after these messages. We go to the 7th inning in a 2-2 tie. 14-game winner Roger McDowell, with the 22 saves during the regular year, will now make his 4th appearance in the World Series. He has been in games 1, 3, 4, and now 6. He does not have a decision. His earned run average, however, is almost 4. In 4 2/3 innings, he has given up 2 earned runs, 3 walks, and 5 hits.
Barrett stepped out of the box for a minute, Vin, to talk to Buckner, and I'm sure just reinforcing what he knows about McDowell and wanted Buckner to tell him.
Marty Barrett lined out to center and then singled twice against Ojeda. Now he'll get a sinker ball pitcher. And there's one right off the bat, strike one. Barrett with 2 hits tonight has hit in 6 straight. McDowell now trying to hold on to this tie until the Mets come up in the bottom of the 7th. 1-1. Fouled off, 1-2.
Very interesting defense. Even though Knight is not guarding the line, he's dropped back. He's still playing Marty Barrett to pull. Yet you look at the outfield, the center fielder Dykstra is in right center field. Look at all that area in there. They're playing him to right field line in the outfield. Knight's playing him to pull in the infield.
The basic theory, I guess, you don't try to pull a sinker ball pitcher, but it is late enough in the game that if the hitter does pull him, you want to have somebody guarding against the extra base hit. 1-2 to Marty Barrett. Sinker, 2-2.
It's to protect against that off-speed pitch is what Knight is doing, because if McDowell's got the good sinker, which it appears he does, he should get the ground ball either short or second.
2-2. And it's hit foul off first, out of play. 55,078. They're using the top half of the inning to lay back and recuperate. They have been hollering since right after the national anthem. Fouled away. In 6 previous innings, Jim Rice and company has managed to get the leadoff man aboard in only 2 of the 6 innings. They got the leadoff man in the first inning, Boggs, and he scored. Meanwhile, they have stranded 8 in those 6 innings. Fouled away. Get that ball up a little bit, considering he likes to work down. Roger Clemens, given a 2-0 lead, nevertheless saw it get away in the 5th inning. So he's even 2-2, and we're in the top of the 7th. Just off the corner, 3-2. And you can bet Carter, who was burned over a pitch on the outside corner, has something to say about Dale Ford about that one that was called a ball.
Sinker.
Three 3-2 to Marty Barrett. And he lost him. Ball 4. So Barrett, with 2 singles and a walk, goes to first, and that will bring up Buckner, Rice, and Evans. Once again, we remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game.
And with the sinker ball pitcher up there, and Buckner with his problem as far as his legs go, taking a good look at Rene Lashman. Knight's looking for bunt. The double play is the inning record, so you got to look for some kind of a play.
And remember, while Ojeda was in there, Buckner was hitting the ball in the air and taking Bobby deep. 0 for 3, twice long outs to right. Now let's see about the sinker baller. Knight looking bunt on the grass. And the bunt is foul. It hit him in the batter's box. No play. It hit him in the box for sure. In the count, no balls, 1 strike. Dale Ford called it immediately.
Look at Buckner reinforcing it to Ray Knight. He squares around. Got him right on the foot. And look at Ford immediately calling it foul ball. And Buckner, when you see him motion like that, he's telling Lashman, start the signs all over again. I missed the first time you did it.
0-1, the count to Bill Buckner. Buck steering to the right side of the infield. He wasn't looking down at Latchman at all. 0-1. And the runner goes, and the pitch is hit up the middle. Back to get it is Backman, and they make the play. So they put a hit and run play on to avoid the double play. They not only avoid it, but Buckner gets his man up 90 feet to second base. So that was a good bit of hitting.
You can see Barrett looking back. He follows the ball, and Backman's play only to first base. It's his job to put the bat on the ball, and that's what he did. When he was looking, he was almost trying to, before when Vinny talked about it, like he was trying to check who was going to be covering. Usually the second baseman holds when the left-hand batter's up there.
Well, here is Jim Rice with a chance to untie the score. 0-1. Rice walked in the first inning, struck out in the third, flied to right in the fifth. All of those at-bats were against the starter, Bob Ojeda. 1-0. Roller foul outside of third. 1 ball and 1 strike. For Rice, this is the 6th game of the World Series. This is only his 4th at bat in the series with a man in scoring position.
It's really hard to believe when you stop to think what Marty Barrett has done.
Well, how about Barrett? Every time you look up, he's on base 3 more times tonight. And as we had mentioned earlier, he hadn't scored a run in the series.
Impossible.
1 ball, 1 strike. Roller to third. Knight charging. High throw off Hernandez's glove, and over to third goes Barrett. A routine play gets away by Ray Knight. Just a slow roller against a slow runner. He had plenty of time, and he threw it away.
You'll see it. Nothing tough about it.
And not only does he lose Rice, but since it's such a bad throw, he allows Barrett to get over to third. And now the Mets have a problem. It is indeed strength against strength. They're going to have a sinker ball pitcher against a low ball hitter, Dwight Evans.
That ball just sailed right up and over Hernandez's glove. They had a meeting as to who would be covering, and you see Backman now talking to McDowell, pointing to the shortstop. They're still not sure. Backman just hollered in, but they are sure now.
It's interesting that because of Dwight Evans' error, Ray Knight turned around to be the tying run. Now because of Knight's error, Dwight Evans has a chance to untie the score. Infield in double play depth. Evans double to left, flied to right, and walked. 2-2, top of the 7th inning. Big error by Ray Knight. Sinker, ball 1.
Much like you have to lay off the high fastball with Clemens, you have to lay off that pitch that seems to be right about at your knees, because by the time it comes across the plate, it is out of the strike zone and a cinch ground ball if you try to pull it. And there it was.
1 ball, no strikes. Rich Gedman on deck. Missed again, and Carter can't believe it. 2 balls and no strikes. Davy Johnson sweating it out in the dugout. It was quite a mountain for the Mets to climb to get Clemens a 2-0 lead, but they climbed that one. There's ball 3, almost a wild pitch.
He really overthrew that one. He tried to get a little extra on it and almost got it by Carter, who makes a good play getting that ball. Backhands it. That glove with that break in the middle, much like a first baseman's mitt, what made the difference on that play.
Evans, a quick look at Latchman. Runners at first and third, 1 out. 3-0 the count to Dwight Evans. In there.
Here's your moment of truth.
Johnson dying a little bit in the Mets dugout. 3 balls, 1 strike. Time, no pitch. The plate umpires have allowed that to happen throughout the series, and that really is not the way the rule is in the book. But they have allowed the hitter to ask, and they have granted time even though the pitcher is in the middle of his delivery.
You got to believe that in the playoffs and World Series they really stretched that rule book, because Davey is really upset.
Sure.
What's going on?
It's not supposed to be. You're not supposed to allow a man to do that. 3-1 to count to Dwight Evans. Foul back, 3-2. Now you have a decision, I guess, for John McNamara. Jim Rice doesn't have any speed, and he's talking to Walt Riniak at first. So we'll see if Mac puts a run and hit play on for Rice, so that he could possibly have a chance to break up a double play. And McDowell wants to talk to Hernandez about coming over there perhaps and tying up Jim Rice.
Rice is still not sure, because he keeps looking at Riniak for confirmation. Usually the first base coach, he may have a word sign like maybe your first name or whatever. Now he's checking down at third base, looking around, but he had been staring at Riniak.
McNamara played hit and run with 2 out in the 2nd inning, and Boggs obliged. So we'll watch Rice at first. Barrett at third, 1 out, 3-2 to Evans, 2-2 in the 7th inning. Rice goes. Sinker is hit down to second. They can't get the double play. Safe at second, out at first. And the run is in. So that was the big play. Do you turn Rice loose or don't you? If he's not going, they get the double play. But he was going, and he was not only there, but safe. And the run is in. So the error gets even larger. Otherwise, the inning is over.
He got the sinker in a good spot, and now you see Rice sliding in safe. And it's a decision that'll get lost in the box score. But McNamara, if it's a strikeout, it's a throw him out. But he makes the move, lets Rice start, and gets the big run. Watch Barrett scoring the tie-breaking run.
So a key decision by John McNamara. And the Sox lead 3-2, and Gedman hits it foul. 0-1. In the inning, Barrett walked. Buckner grounded out. Barrett was going, and Buckner, throwing his bat at the ball, prevented a force play. Rice hit a routine ground ball that Knight threw away. That put runners at first and third, and McNamara had Rice going, and that turns out to be a big decision.
And once again, that base on balls, just like it got to Clemens in the 5th inning with Strawberry, it gets McDowell here in the 7th.
0-1. 0-2. And for the first time, despite the fact he's been on base all night long and all series long, Marty Barrett finally scores a run, and it is a big one. Gedman, 2 fly balls and a strikeout against Bobby Ojeda.
How many times in a ball game one pitch could make the difference?
Well,
if he gets the strikeout, it's strike him out, throw him out. He gets the ground ball, and they get the run.
0-2. Sinker hit into the hole. Now they're going to wave Rice in. Mookie's got a chance to get him to Carter. He is out at the plate.
Mookie lets it go on a fly. Carter, once he catches the ball, he knows he can ride Rice inside. Now he makes him slide to the inside, never gets the home plate. Watch Dale Ford. He wants to see if Carter holds the ball, and once he does, he calls him out. But Carter rides him inside.
It is 3-2 Boston. Right now, Ray Knight is very much a part of New York and a part of this game. It was Knight who was able to score a run in the 5th inning to tie up the game, and it is Knight's error on the throw to Hernandez that gives the Red Sox the go-ahead run. It's the kind of a play you live with all through the long winter. However, he has a chance to erase it with this time at bat. He has struck out and singled, 1 for 2. In the Mets bullpen, since McDowell is due up 4th, Jesse Orozco begins to throw. And so for the second time tonight, Roger Clemens has been given a lead. Earlier 2-0, now 3-2. And Calvin Schiraldi, the former Met, begins to throw back of Clemens. Knight 1 for 2. Hit down the right field line, foul, and out of play. 0-1.
If you're wondering about pitches as far as Clemens is concerned, he's now made 119 pitches, 79 strikes, and 12 of 24 first pitches for strikes.
Well, he had 99 pitches going into the 6th inning. No balls, 1 strike. And that's hit on a line right at Dwight Evans. 1 away. Boy, the Evans and Knight connection is a strong one in this game. And Mookie Wilson coming up.
Remember, Mookie fouled off a number of fastballs and then hit a curveball into right field for a base hit.
And on that play, Evans kicked it, and Knight took third and eventually scored as Danny Heap hit into a double play. The Mets have had 2 big chances, first and third, and nobody out with a run in the 5th. And Heap hit into a double play. They got the tying run. They had first and third and 1 out in the 6th, and Carter struck out looking. The Mets have not dragged 1 bunt towards Buckner at first in 6 games.
That's really hard to believe.
Yeah, it sure is. He was late, 1-2.
In fact, we saw Tommy Lasorda before the game. What was he moaning about? Against us, that's all they do. He bunts in batting practice against us. I'm talking about Dykstra.
Wilson will be followed by the youngster Kevin Elster. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2-2. Bottom of the 7th, 1 out. 3-2 Red Sox. And Ray Knight inconsolable right now. Out away.
Roger Clemens wears something around the neck. I don't know really what it is, but he has all kinds of problems keeping it tucked in there.
2-2. Ball 3 to Mookie.
No curveballs yet.
Big bouncer down to second baseman Marty Barrett. 2nd out. 2 down in the 7th. Kevin Elster the batter. Roger McDowell due to follow him, but Orozco still throwing in the pen. Henderson, Owen, and Clemens are due up in the 8th inning for Boston.
You know, you look at your scorecard, man, and only 1 inning did the leadoff man get on so far for the Mets, and he was able to score. Clemens does a great job of, it seems like, making the other club hit with at least 1 out and trying to score.
On deck, Lee Mazzilli comes out of the Mets dugout. So if there's a chance to hit for McDowell, Mazzilli will be the one to do it. So Kevin Elster. Ball 1. Up. Excuse me. Late call for Dale.
There was a good example of framing a pitch. You saw how Gedman caught it. He didn't catch it coming up. He really backhanded the ball.
No balls, 1 strike. 0-2. It was a little more than a month ago that Kevin Elster got his first major league hit. Now here he is against the probable Cy Young Award winner of the American League in the 6th game of the World Series. 0-2. 0-1. Tom Seaver visiting with Hurst and Baylor. 1-2. Breaking ball. Haven't seen many of those of late, and the count 2-2.
He lost it there, and they were hitting it, and Gedman just switched completely off. He doesn't want to run that count to 3-2. He'll want it to happen right here. He's too good a pitcher to take it deep.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Fouled away. Fastball. Elster, Californian, born in San Pedro and lives in Huntington Beach. He started 9 games at shortstop since being called up. Now he's finishing up for Santana. Fastball, pop foul off first. Buckner limping over, but it's going to be out of play. Billy trying to climb the tarp roller. Remember the way Gene Kelly did that dance and singing in the rain, 1 foot in the street and 1 on the sidewalk? That's the way Buckner's playing.
You really come up with them. Buckner and Gene Kelly in the same sentence.
Well, in that scene. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Kevin Elster. Fouled away. Buckner has changed yet again. Remember the other night he had 1 high top and 1 regular. He's back to 2 high tops.
Tell you, he's leading this series in conversations.
2-2 to Kevin Elster. And it's a fly ball to right center. Henderson is there. So the Mets go quietly in the 7th inning. It's the first time they've been retired in order since the 4th. And at the end of 7, 3-2 Boston. In the 8th inning, Dave Henderson, Spike Owen, and Roger Clemens. And Roger McDowell a strike. This will be McDowell's last inning since he is due to bat first in the bottom of the 8th. Henderson, 2 fly balls and a ground ball. Oh and 1. 1-1. The difference in the game right now, the throwing error of Ray Knight, and all you have to do is go back to game 1 and the error by Tim Tuffle. Hot one foul by Latchman, and the count 1-2.
But what a difference in the swing that Henderson takes against a McDowell as opposed to Ojeda.
Howard Johnson will probably be a pinch hitter waiting in the wings to go up against Roger Clemens. Remember, he hit a home run against Clemens when he played for the Tigers in '84. 1-2. 2-2. Meanwhile, young Dwight Gooden, all part of the growing process, the frustrations of pitching in postseason, 4 times walking away empty-handed. 2-2. 3-2. McDowell, remember, started the troubles in the 7th when he walked the leadoff man Marty Barrett. Now the leadoff man Henderson, the count 3-2. Fouled away. 3 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for the Red Sox. The error by Evans that contributed heavily to a Mets run. 2 runs, 4 hits, and 1 error by the Mets. The error by Knight contributing heavily to the go-ahead run for Boston. 3-2 to Dave Henderson. Line foul. Boy, that ball was up. That wasn't a sinker ball. That was not a Roger McDowell specialty. And Henderson really ripped it.
Your hands can't be cold after you rip one like that.
Remember when McDowell pitched in game 4, he worked 2/3 of an inning and gave up 3 hits and 2 runs. They hit him pretty hard. On the hands pull foul. in that game in game 4. Rice doubled, Evans and Gedman singled, and Henderson had a scoring fly ball for the 2 runs. 3-2. Foul the other way. Stottlemyre and Johnson. They'll have a hitter for McDowell and Dykstra and Backman in the bottom of the 8th. Meanwhile, McNamara and Dwight Evans back to the lead again. Ground ball hard to Elster, up his arm and on out into center. That thing was hit hard and it ate him up.
He looked like he was in great position and may have taken a bad hop at the last minute. We'll watch it, because he looks like he's ready right here. He's in good shape. He's not letting the ball play him, and look at it take the bad hop and go right off his arm.
Now we'll wait for the verdict of the 3 scorers. Red Foley of the New York Daily News, Dave Nightingale of the Sporting News, Charlie Scoggins of the Lowell, Massachusetts Sun. And the judgment is not reflected on the scoreboard as yet. The one thing for McDowell, he's not very lucky tonight, and it's now going to be flashed a hit. So the bad hop single off the left arm of Kevin Elster. Spike Owen, 3 for 3. Turning around to hit left-handed. Owen will be followed by Roger Clemens. Owen during the year hit less than $150 against right-handers in the American League. He hit 138. So they have him bunt, and it's a good bunt. McDowell makes the play, and down to second goes Henderson.
Clemens is being called back, it seems like.
They are going to the bench, and Mike Greenwell will be the hitter. Show you how long ago it was when the Red Sox won a World Series. Look at what it cost to buy things. It's also interesting that the last time the Red Sox won the World Series, 1918, in March of that year, Congress enacted legislation for the clocks to be moved 1 hour in order to serve and save electric energy. It was called daylight saving time, March 31st. So just as the Red Sox are trying to turn back the hands of time tonight, we remind you to turn back the hands of your clock before going to bed tonight. Turn it back 1 hour. So Roger goes 7 innings and goes out winning 3-2. And he'll give the ball to Calvin Schiraldi. But right now, here's Mike Greenwell. Strike. Greenwell has had 2 at-bats in the series. One other when he walked. Oh, 0-1 to Mike. Good breaking ball. Boy, they really broke that one off.
And had it in a good spot, low and inside. There was nothing Greenwell could do once he had made up his mind to swing. So I wonder if it hit his ankle, the right ankle. It was way out of the strike zone, and Gary Carter did a good job blocking it.
0-2 the count to Mike Greenwell with Henderson at second, 1 out in the 8th, 3-2 Boston. And he chased another one, and Carter will tag him out. So Greenwell strikes out on a couple of very good breaking balls. Henderson holding at second, but now you have Wade Boggs and Davy Johnson going out to the mound. Remember, Orozco had been throwing, but I think he would rather hit for McDowell and then use Orozco. So let's see about walking Boggs and going head to head with Marty Barrett. There's Orozco just sitting quietly on the bench, number 47.
It's one of those spots. Johnson was out there so quickly. I mean, away from the discussion, that he's probably just wanted to say, hey, look, you got a base open. Barrett's coming up. How do you feel? And it's McDowell's answer that dictates the move.
Wade Boggs singled off Knight's glove in the first inning and scored. Had a hit and run single when Backman broke to cover second as Owen was running, and Boggs hit it behind Backman into right center. In the fourth inning, he grounded to short, and in the sixth inning, he hit into a force play, rolling the ball again to Backman.
I got to believe that they're going to widen the strike zone with Boggs. I can't see him pitching to him with Barrett coming up, even though Marty's having a hot year. This guy is a 350 hitter.
And how? And Barrett tonight lined out to center, twice single to left and walked. Now let's see what they do with Wade Boggs. 4-1. Three-two Red Sox. Top of the eighth. 2 out. Missed inside. Ball 2.
They're going to put him on. He got to, huh?
I would think. I don't know why they'd fool around with him at all.
Well, they thought maybe he chased that real bad ball. Once he got him 2 balls and no strikes, they'll put him on.
The Major League's leading hitter?
Well, you take a chance. I mean, you don't know. Sometimes in the World Series, funny things do happen, and maybe he would chase that first bad ball and the second one, but now with 2 balls and no strikes, you can't afford to take a chance.
Oh, indeed. So Boggs goes to first. Henderson is at second, and with 2 out, here's that man Barrett again. Every time you look up, Marty Barrett is right in the thick of it. He scored the go-ahead run in the 7th inning when he led off the inning against McDowell and walked. He's had 2 singles, and the one time they retired him, he hit a line drive right at Lenny Dykstra in center field.
Did you see that average? It's like a playground average. 458.
Henderson at second, Boggs at first, and here's Barrett. 4-1. Barrett, who likes the ball away and has shown he can go to right field, but tonight when they pitched him in, he went the other way and twice single to left.
He draws those arms in when they try to jam him, but he likes to hit from the middle of the diamond to the right field line.
1 ball, no strikes. Ball 2. McDowell, as we said, has been in games 1, 3, 4, and now 6. And at the end of a long year where he saved 22 and picked up 14 victories, you would think he's a little weary. Two 2-0 to Marty Barrett. Now he's really in trouble. 3-0, and on deck, Bill Buckner.
Walks in, he may force Davey to make a move.
And he doesn't want to do it because then he'd have to hit for Orozco since he's leading off the bottom of the 8th. So this is a very big inning for McDowell. Down the pipe. 3-1. And he's way outside to load him up. Now let's see if that forces Davy Johnson's hand and ruins his strategy. Do you blow everything? Well, he can't afford to wait, evidently. Will he make 2-for-1 switch? Well, the last man to make out was his shortstop, but he's already used Santana. So Johnson almost forced here because of the bad hop single. And then this walk, and he has to bring in Orozco, and he hates to do it. The whole idea was to hit from McDowell and have Orozco pitch the 9th inning, but he can't do it. Jesse Orozco is forced into the game at this juncture to get Bill Buckner for the 3rd out because the Sox, leading 3-2, have loaded the bases. Orozco, a three-quarter style pitcher who will drop down against left-handers. Pretty good fastball, a very good slider, and he's even throwing a few split-fingered fastballs.
He comes from first base when he's sidearms, especially with the breaking ball. He'll back you out of the box, which is what he did to Buckner when he faced him before.
Orozco won 3 times in the playoffs against Houston. He won games 3, 5, and was the winning pitcher in Bobby Ojeda's game 6. So here is Buckner with the bases loaded, 2 out in the 8th, 3-2 Boston. Henderson, Boggs, and Barrett out on the line. High fly ball. Dykstra has it under control. 1 pitch for the big out, and 3 are left. And at the end of 7 1/2, 3-2 Red Sox. Roger Clemens was given a 2-0 lead and was pitching a no-hitter for 4 innings. The Mets finally got to him for hits and 2 runs to tie the game in the 5th, but they really let him off the hook, and he fought his way out of a corner. With a run in and runners at first and third, Danny Heap hit into a double play. In the 6th inning, with the score tied, the Mets had runners at first and third, and Gary Carter was caught looking. And then Darryl Strawberry hit into a force play. And then the error by Ray Knight is now the difference in the game, and Clemens gives the ball to Calvin Schiraldi. Schiraldi, the former Met, who had the penthouse and basement existence in Anaheim, is now asked to get the last 6 outs of the World Series. And standing in his way, first off, is Lee Mazzilli. Mazzilli followed by Dykstra and Backman. The Met pinch hitters are 0 for 5 in the series. Right.
And there you saw his best pitch right there, his fastball. He just comes in and fires.
Bottom of the 8th, 3-2 Boston. Mets desperate to stay alive in the game and in the series. Time called for a moment. John Kibler called it. A beach ball was loose in the right field corner. 0-1. Slicing fly ball. Rice in pursuit. It'll curl foul and out of play. Down in the Mets bullpen, right-hander Rick Aguilera is loosening up. Aguilera was up very early and now very late. One and 2. Another slicing foul off third down the line in the crowd, and it's still 1 and 2.
The prime requisite of the relief pitchers to throw strikes, and you're watching Schiraldi just look down, get a fastball sign from Gedman, and just put everything he's got behind it.
Schiraldi has a save in the series, but prior to tonight, he is certainly well rested for this performance. Fastball full to the hole, base hit into right field for Mazzilli. The time run is aboard. Mazzilli indicating he's expecting a runner. The runner is not coming yet, if there's going to be one at all. This crowd has reason to cheer. 39 times this year the Mets came from behind to win. And remember, they set a Mets record of 55 victories at home. And Mazzilli, after questioning Johnson, got the answer, you're the runner. Len Dykstra, Wally Backman, and Keith Hernandez. The Red Sox are looking bunt. Dykstra has struck out twice, grounded to short against Clemens. There's the bunt. Schiraldi's going to go to second in the dirt. Everybody's safe.
He's a bit undecided. His only play, first base, he throws a sinker.
I'll assume until we hear otherwise, it is not a sacrifice. I think a good throw would have gotten a man. So we'll double check. Okay, they'll make it a sacrifice. And then the error allowing Dykstra to reach first. Now the question is, now will Backman bunt to get the tying run to third and a possible winning run to second?
They're really charging hard. Buckner is way in, and Backman, who can handle that bat.
Backman struck out, fly to left, single to the hole at short on a smothering backhanded stop by Spike Owen. He was second in the league in sacrifice bunts this year. The bunt is down. Schiraldi has to go to first.
He would have had to play at third, but Boggs had to come in because of Backman, and therefore could not get back to the bag in time, with Mazzilli coming down to third, and Schiraldi's only play was to first. The bunt comes right back to Schiraldi. Now he looks at third. He's got to play it, but luckily he doesn't throw because Boggs couldn't get back. And he makes the one sure out. Now look where Boggs is, and that's the key to this play. He starts in and says, I better get back, but Schiraldi sees he's not back to the bag and wisely goes to first.
One out, second and third. And for the third time tonight, the Mets have a golden opportunity. Stanley and Sambito are throwing in the Red Sox bullpen. Hernandez and Carter are due up. Keith Hernandez flied to center, fouled out to third, and singled in the sixth inning. 3-2 Red Sox, bottom of the eighth, and the Mets trying to come back.
I doubt if he gets a chance to hit here.
So Hernandez will get 4 wide ones. That takes the bat right out of his hand. And Gary Carter will have his second golden chance. You remember Carter in the sixth inning with the game tied had runners at first and third and was called out on strikes. In a moment he'll be coming up with the bases loaded and 1 out. And the chant, Gary, Gary, and the people are up. And Shea Stadium is a madhouse. Mazzilli at third, Dykstra at second, Hernandez at first, and 1 out. Ball 1. Time. And a turn of the screw as far as the tension is concerned. Ball 2. Ball 3. Oh, this will kill you.
Asking for a strike. That's all he's asking for.
Reno swung on and lined to left, right at Rice. Tagging up is Mazzilli to score, and down to third goes Dykstra. It's a brand new ball game.
Davy Johnson gambling 3-0 for a base hit, got the sacrifice fly. Rice's high throw allowed Dykstra to go to third.
And boy, does that take a lot of weight and a lot of heat and a lot of pressure off the on-deck hitter, Ray Knight. He's off the hook. Now Darryl Strawberry with runners at first and third in a 3-3 tie in the bottom of the 8th.
Buckner behind him.
Fouled away.
Not even worried about Keith, and Keith is pointing to Strawberry. Keep that shoulder in there. He was patting his right shoulder. Keep that front shoulder in there.
Darryl has walked twice and hit into a force play. He has 2 stolen bases. 0-1. Dykstra bluffing down the line. Fouled at the plate. 0-2. So just as Ray Knight's era gave the Red Sox a big run in the 7th, so the throwing error by Calvin Schiraldi has given the Mets the tying run in the 8th.
Both Hernandez and Bill Robinson at first base trying to give hints to Strawberry as the Red Sox have their meeting on the mound, and they're trying to set up a defense should Hernandez decide to break from first base. You can see him checking the bench. He can go off first base as far as he wants. Buckner's playing way behind him, and with 2 strikes you can look for anything.
0-2. Hernandez is going on a fly ball to right field. Evans looking over at Henderson. It's Henderson. But the Mets scratched for 1 run, 1 hit. There were 3 sacrifices. 3-3 in the 8th. We go to the 9th inning, all tied 3-3. The Mets make the 2-for-1 switch. Lee Mazzilli, who batted for Jesse Orosco, stays in the game and goes into right field. Rick Aguilera is the new pitcher, and he will pitch in Darryl Strawberry's spot. In the 9th, the Red Sox will have Jim Rice, Dwight Evans, and Rich Gedman. It is interesting that before the league championship series, before the playoffs with Houston, backup catcher Ed Hearn of the Mets said, I have a hunch the guy who's going to play a big part in the league championship series and the World Series will be Rick Aguilera. Well, here he is, tied up in the 9th inning of a must-win game for New York.
Boy, 2 big decisions by the managers. Carter being allowed to hit 3 balls and no strikes. Really drills one to left field for the sacrifice fly. And remember, McNamara started his runner to pick up the tie-breaking run. So those little decisions that get lost in the box score.
And Rice makes a poor throw. It can't be cut off. There's no chance to get the tying run, and it allowed the winning run to go to third. The possible winning run anyway.
And leading off the ninth inning.
So Mazzilli, who was the pinch hitter and singled, worked his way around to score, stays in the game in right field. And now let's see about the Sox. Rice has walked, struck out, flied to right, and of course reached on that bad throw by Ray Knight that looked like it was going to be his own personal nightmare. Fouled away. Rick Aguilera. He's the fourth Mets pitcher. On the corner, strike two. Aguilera's best pitch, they tell me, is the slider. 0-1.
He's got a fastball slider and a good overhand curveball.
Calvin Schiraldi tied up 3-3 in a sense because of his throwing error to second base. 1-2. Ball two.
See Carter fire that ball back. That's always a message when they throw it back that hard. Is to say, come on, man, you got to give me some strikes.
By the way, in checking with the scorer on that throw in the dirt by Schiraldi, it was ruled a sacrifice fielder's choice. No error. Rice strikes out.
Fastball just blew it right by him.
Dwight Evans doubled off the left center field wall to drive in a run, flied to right, walked, and then you remember they started Rice with one out, and Evans hit a one-hopper to Backman, but Rice was able to get into second base. Evans was out, and then eventually Gedman singled and Rice was thrown out at the plate. Strike. One out, top of the ninth. One and one.
Hasn't thrown a curveball yet, but he's certainly in a good spot now for a breaking pitch. He kept him honest with that fastball inside.
There's a breaking ball, and Elster bobbles, picks it, drops it, and the kid's burned. An error. Remember, Danny Heap batted for Rafael Santana in the fifth inning and hit into a double play, and young Kevin Elster is there, and he can't handle it. Right out of the glove, and then out of the hand.
You could see he had it. He felt he had it all away when you saw him pat that glove going after it, but once it popped out of there, he just couldn't find the handle.
It's the Mets' second error and the third error in this pressure-packed game, and the batter is Rich Gedman. Flied to right, struck out, flied to left, and singled to left. Breaking ball, and he missed with it.
When you saw Aguilera waving like that, he was asking the shortstop and the second baseman who's covering. Elster said, I'll be covering.
1-0. Fouled off, 1 ball, 1 strike. Bob Stanley is now throwing in the Red Sox bullpen. Evans at first. And it's a busted back ground ball. Backman feeds Elster, and he goes to Hernandez. Fasten your seatbelts. It's 3-3, bottom of the ninth. This was Ray Knight, the time of the game, the bottom of the seventh inning. His error in the top of the seventh inning was a major contribution to the Red Sox taking the lead. This is Ray Knight in the bottom of the ninth, leading off in a 3-3 tie. Knight struck out, single to center to drive in Strawberry in the 5th inning, and lined hard to right field in the 7th inning. Calvin Schiraldi now battling for a decision. Ball 1, breaking ball. The Red Sox left 12 men on base in their 9 innings of at-bat. 12. Ball 2. The Mets have left 5 men on, and you can see the rally caps are now in order as the Mets bench turns the caps around. 2-0. Ball 3. In there. 3-1. Mookie Wilson on deck, and then the kid shortstop Kevin Elster. Anything but a kid manager, John McNamara, looks on. Ball 4.
Mookie looking for a sign, but if he does anything but bunt, they may have to call him to I don't know what. Buckner's setting up a defense now. That baseball balls in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning always spelling trouble. You get fancy here, you have to get outs.
The entire infield getting it squared away as Boggs comes over. You have Mookie Wilson followed by Kevin Elster and then Lee Mazzilli. Remember, Mazzilli stayed in the game. Wilson struck out, single to right, and grounded out. He's bunting and fouled it. 0-1. The Mets had 3 sacrifices in the 8th inning, 2 bunts and a fly ball. Mookie does not have a sacrifice all year. And he's asked to get one down now. Buckner was really coming, as was Boggs.
Schiraldi off the mound. They're really pinching.
0-1. The bunt out to get it is Gedman and throws not in time, and we have our first argument of the series. He was on the bag, John said. You can't blow that call. On that blast bag. Why? You couldn't have seen it, John said. Here it is again. You be the judge. what the Red Sox contention was to Jim Evans, you couldn't have seen that Owens was on the bag. And Jim Evans said, I saw it. And the Sox said you couldn't have seen it if you called him safe. Apparently they wanted Evans to talk to another umpire. Here's the play. You can see him coming off the bag. So Jim Evans was right there to call it. And now the Mets have first and second and nobody out in the bottom of the ninth in a tied-up game. Howard Johnson will be coming up to bat for Kevin Elster. Howard Johnson. And the Sox hold another meeting. So once again, we can take a look at our first truly controversial play of the series.
Barrett is claiming that he had his foot on the bag when he had the ball.
And I could read McNamara's lips saying to Evans, you couldn't have seen it. But Jim was right there. There's the foot.
There's Evans' position. He's in perfect position. Barrett is sure of it. Look at him.
Maintaining, of course, that the sliding night had obscured his vision. There will be an error charge to Rich Gedman. Now here's Hojo trying to move the men along. Missed it. 0-1.
So if he gets it down that third base line, Boggs is not given quite as much ground as he gave the last time. He gets it down the third base line. It could be a base hit. That grass will hold it and slow it down.
Fielder's choice, error 2 if you're keeping score. Ray Knight at second. Slow runner. Mookie Wilson at first. A fast runner. 1 ball, 1 strike, and he was not around that time.
Johnson is his own man, I'll tell you. Everybody in the ballpark looking for bunt, but Davey controls the situation.
1 ball and 1 strike to Howard Johnson. Ground ball foul to Bill Robinson. Surprising. They have Hojo up there swinging. Bottom of the ninth and nobody out. And you have a left-hand hitter, Mazzilli, on deck. Then another left-hand hitter, Dykstra and Backman. So Davey has rolled the dice with Howard Johnson. 1-2. Foul tipped. He struck out. On a check swing that ticked the bat, Johnson strikes out. 1 very big out. And Lee Mazzilli coming up.
And unless he gets that run in, Davies on the firing line once again. That foul tip, the ground ball now, and you're out of the inning.
So Johnson failing with the other Johnson now has Mazzilli, who had the single to open up the 8th inning and scored on Carter's line drive to Jim Rice to tie it up. Mazzilli staying in the game to play right field for Darryl Strawberry in bat 9. Knight at second, Wilson at first, 1 out. Ball 1. On deck is the little man who has played such a big role for the New York Mets, Lenny Dykstra. Check swing. No swing, says Harry Wendelstedt. Ball 2. Keith Hernandez screaming with Johnson and Stottlemyre. Lip-biting time for John McNamara. He's still steaming over the call at second base.
I could read Hernandez that time, man. Get a good ball.
2-0 to Mazzilli. High drive into right field, hooking down in the corner, foul. Mazzilli chipping his bat evidently.
From the looks of the wear on that bat, it could be his favorite. That's a golden oldie he just put down.
Ray Knight opened up the inning with a walk. Wilson bunted. Gedman threw to second. Jim Evans ruling that Spike Owen came off the bag and didn't get back down in time. However, the Mets opted not to bunt with Howard Johnson, and he struck out. And now the count on Lee Mazzilli, 2 balls and 1 strike. High fly ball into left field. Going back on it is Rice on the track to handle it. And of course, after that play with Johnson, had he bunted, your winning run would have scored on that. 2 down. Knight still at second base. And the batter is Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra struck out in the first inning, grounded to short in the third, struck out in the sixth, sacrifice in the eighth. On deck, Pete Hernandez. Ground ball foul. 0-1. Interesting to look tonight that now that Lenny Dykstra comes up with a runner in scoring position, Ray Knight, every man in the Mets lineup has come up with a man in scoring position. And it's 3-3, bottom of the ninth. Mazzilli thinking about that long out to left. 0-1 to Dykstra. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2. Giraldi looked back at the mound as if his spikes had caught. 2-1.
Evans is deep in right field. Henderson and Rice not too deep, so there could be a play. There could be a play center and left. Knight not that fast.
With a left-hand hitter up, Knight is not worrying about Barrett. His only concern is Owen, who is bird-dogging him quite a bit. Fouled away. 2-2. So deuce is wild on Dykstra in the bottom of the ninth of a 3-3 tie. Don Baylor, the designated sitter in the National League Park. Time.
Who called it that time, I wonder? It looked like Dale Ford his concentration may have broken because Dykstra didn't back out at all.
What he did was he took his left hand off the bat and held it up as if he was asking the teacher to lead the room. And finally Ford spotted it and called time. 2-2. Ball 3, a throw back, and Knight just got under the tag by Barrett.
If the throw's on the shortstop side, they got him. Barrett got over there in good shape. It was one of those I'll be there plays. Nothing set before that. Now Gedman's throw, he spots it. He almost has to move out to get away from Dykstra. If it's on the shortstop side, they got him.
Now Ray Knight, who was cheating, trying to get the extra steps in the event of a base hit, is now given the luxury because of the off-the-line throw. He will be in motion 3-2. So what a big play that was.
That ball was there ahead of him. It just a little bit on the wrong side.
The runners go on a full count. There they go instead of fake. gets the winning run at second base. The runners go on a fly ball to left field. Jim Rice is there. And we're going to extra innings. And the key play in the inning, besides the throw to second, Davy Johnson's option to not bunt with Howard Johnson. And the Mets lead 2. They've left 7 in the game. And at the end of 9, a 3-3 tie. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. We have a moment we would like to salute Jack Bennett. Jack Bennett started at NBC in 1952. He was a top sports cameraman for the World Series for 20 years. He is now and has been the director of technical operations for the past 5 years, and this is his last World Series. And we're sure making Game 6 a game to remember. With Howard Johnson staying in the game at shortstop, Dave Henderson will lead it off. Would you like to roll back the clock to Game 5? The Sox were 1 strike away from being eliminated when Henderson took a Donnie Moore pitch and hit it out. And Anaheim, that was 1 pitch away from celebrating. Henderson broke Gene Mauch's heart. Now it's 3-3 in the 10th. Henderson has flied to left, flied to center, grounded to short, and singled to short on the bad hop that struck Kevin Elster on the left arm. So Howard Johnson is the shortstop. And Henderson at the plate, and Rick Aguilera going to work. If you look at the Red Sox bench and you think of pinch hitters, they have only right-handed batters to go against Aguilera if they are thinking of batting for Schiraldi. Only right-hand hitters. And of course the number 1 right-hand hitter, Don Baylor. And you can see he's loosening up. And a drive to left. Going back on it is Mookie Wilson, and this one is gone. Henderson has done it again. And a note on Rick Aguilera. He gives up the most home runs on the staff.
It looked like a fastball, and there you see Roger Clemens, and look at this bench.
And it is 4-3 Red Sox on the lightning-like home run of Dave Henderson.
And he knew when he touched it off, and what a difference in the swing between this one on Aguilera and Ojeda.
A strike to Spike Owen, who is 3 for 3. So the Mets disdained the bunt, and the Red Sox make them pay with a home run. 1 ball and 1 strike. When the Mets bat in the bottom of the 10th, they'll have Backman, Hernandez, and Carter. Slicing foul off third, out of play.
You think that Henderson hasn't been on a roll?
Just look at him. One and 2 to count to Spike Owen. Fouled away. The Red Sox led 2-0. The Mets tied at 2-2. The Red Sox led 3-2. The Mets tied at 3-3. The Mets with a golden opportunity in the 9th inning to win it, let it get away, and Henderson hits the home run leading off in the 10th. And just to switch what we said the other night, it's so quiet in New York you can almost hear Boston. 1-2. That takes care of Spike Owen. 1 out in the 10th inning. Second strikeout for Rick Aguilera. And of course that home run does a lot of things, and among others, here comes Calvin Schiraldi. It looked like Baylor was going to hit for him until Henderson ripped it. Schiraldi followed by Wade Boggs. Mazzilli's short and shallow in right field. That's a strike. 0-2. That takes care of Schiraldi. So 2 out in the 10th. Roger Clemens. 1 minute he was pitching a no-hitter. The next minute he was tied. And the Sox bullpen, that's Al Nipper chatting with him. 3 outs away. Ball 1. Boggs, 2 singles, grounded out, hit into a force play, and walked intentionally. He's 2 for 4. Fouled away. 1 ball, 1 strike. To repeat, Backman, Hernandez, and Carter in the bottom of the 10th. And the Mets with 39 come from behind wins. And Henderson and company trying to take it and run. For the Red Sox, including that wild Game 5 of the playoffs with the Angels, the Boston Red Sox have won 19 games in their final at-bats this year. And that's hit in the alley in left center, but it's slicing, and Mookie can't get it. It's going to the wall. Boggs into second base with a stand-up double. So a home run and a double in the 10th inning. And the batter now, Marty Barrett.
Second baseman, Marty Barrett.
Marty Barrett lined out to center, 2 singles to left, and 2 walks. In there. 1-1.
Aguilera kind of quick pitched him that time, caught him between waving the bat. Although Marty might have been taking that pitch all the way, but he certainly didn't appear ready for the first time in this entire series, I might add.
0-1. Backman deep at second. 1 ball, 1 strike. Boggs at second, 2 out in the 10th, a run over. Red Sox 4, Mets 3.
Hernandez is trying to get Dykstra's attention to move him in. They're deep in that outfield, and with 2 outs, crack at the bat, Boggs will be off.
1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2. On deck, Bill Buckner. Little slider for a strike. 3-2. Boggs waiting to be picked up with 2 out. 3-2 to Marty Barrett. And it's hit into center, base hit. Dykstra charging. Here comes Boggs. He will score. The throw backed up by Aguilera, and Barrett goes to second. And it is 5-3 Red Sox. And what a big run that was.
Well, the scouting report says run on the Met outfielders, and Hernandez, as we mentioned, was trying to get Dykstra to move in, but with 2 outs, Boggs broke at the crack of the bat, and Dykstra's throw is so high nobody can cut it off. They pick up the extra base, and there again is Barrett. That is the 5th time he's been on base tonight.
So Marty Barrett puts extra weight on the Mets dugout, and here is Bill Buckner. Barrett taking second on that high throw to the plate. Buckner lined out to right, flied to center and to right, grounded out. Ball 1.
Is that ever going to be a long press conference for Davy Johnson if it ends like this?
In the bottom of the 9th inning, Ray Knight walked. Mookie Wilson bunted. The throw to second was high by Gedman. Jim Evans ruled that Owens was off the bag, and there was first and second, nobody out. A bunt puts the winning run at third base. But Davy Johnson opted to have Howard Johnson swing away, and he eventually struck out. Foul ball. And then, as so often happens after one decision, something immediately happens to make you rue the decision. Mazzilli, a fly ball deep to left that would have scored the winning run, but instead the run is held at first and second. And when the Mets did not seize the opportunity, the Red Sox did in the 10th inning. Home run by Henderson, double by Boggs, single by Barrett, 2 runs over, and a 5-3 Boston lead. One and one. Fouled off. Marty Barrett with 3 singles and 2 walks. The only time they got him in the first inning, he hit one right on the button, but right at Len Dykstra in center. Hit him. So Buckner is nailed by the pitch, and that will bring up Jim Rice.
There's nothing you can do when that ball is right there.
Left fielder, Jim Rice.
So Buckner at first, Barrett holding at second, and Jim Rice coming up. Rice walked, struck out, flied to right, reached on a bad throw by Ray Knight, only to be thrown out at the plate, and struck out. High foul, out of play. 0-1. To repeat, in case you're not keeping score, Backman, Hernandez, and Carter due up in the bottom of the 10th, and Aguilera's spot is due up 4th. One ball, 1 strike. One and 2. And that's lined to right. Mazzilli has a bead on it and puts it away. But the Red Sox come up with 2 big runs on a single double home run. And at the end of 9 1/2, Red Sox 5, Mets 3.
You see the difference in that guy's swing against him and Ojeda? Oh, man.
Howard Johnson is good enough to swing. 5-3 Red Sox, and Wally Backman a strike. Backman is 1 for 3. Calvin Schiraldi trying to finish off the Mets and the 1986 baseball season. Fouled away, 0-2.
And it looks, Vin, with that swing that we're not going to see the Dykstra or Backman beat out a bunt, which really is a story in itself.
Our particular thanks in sending you all the excitement and drama tonight to Mike Weissman, to George Finkel, Harry Coyle, and all the fellows who have worked so hard to bring you this World Series. 0-2 to Wally Backman. Little poke job to left. Rice coming over. 1 away. It is tough enough to lose. It is a long enough winter anyway. But when you have made a decision and it will stick in your craw all winter, it will make the offseason almost interminable. And that's the life of a big league manager. Here's Keith Hernandez. Fly to center, fouled out, single to center, walked intentionally. 1 for 3. Right. Rick Aguilera, who gave up the home run to Henderson. 1 ball and 1 strike. On deck, Gary Carter. So this at bat for Keith Hernandez, very important. Trying to make Carter tying run. 1-1. Ball 2. And that's hit to dead center with Henderson going to run it down. And the Mets are down to their last out. Tonight's NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game is Marty Barrett. Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Marty Barrett to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Marty had 3 singles and 2 walks. Handled everything hit his way. Kevin Mitchell is on deck to bat for Rick Aguilera and Gary Carter at the plate. And he pops it foul, out of play. Gedman coming back. It is out of play. Carter had 2 great chances as we go back through the history books. And the Red Sox are 2 strikes away. In 1918, when the Red Sox won, each player received $1,000 as the winner's share. This year, each player will get more than $70,000. 1-1. The oil can, at least for the moment, looks like he has tomorrow off. 1-1. Dave Henderson joining Carlton Fisk with dramatic 6th game home runs. And Roger Clemens hoping for that last out. Lined into left field, base hit for Carter, and the Mets are still alive. Hit number 2 off Schiraldi. number 6 for New York. And with 2 out, representing the tying run, Kevin Mitchell. Checking his outfield for Mitchell, and the outfield deep and straight away. Barrett is on the rim, and Owen is deep at short. Check swing foul. 0-1. Mitchell has had 5 at-bats in the series. He's 1 for 5.
John was just one of his ball club. No trick plays, no nothing. Keep Mitchell off second base.
Carter at first. Curveball, and that's going to be hit to center. Base hit. And now suddenly with 2 out in the 10th inning, the tying runs are aboard, and Ray Knight will be the batter. Have been very important for 24 victories during the regular year. They were very important for 7 innings tonight. And now all Roger Clemens can do is fold them and watch. Bill Fisher going out to talk to Calvin Schiraldi. And of course that second run that appeared to be window dressing. The double by Boggs and the single by Barrett. That second run now becomes a tremendous weight around the necks of the Mets.
There really isn't a whole lot of strategy right about now. He's just reminding everybody of the situation. The big guy is Mitchell over there at first base.
The Mets left 2 men on base in the 8th. They left 2 men on base when they had a chance to win it in the 9th, and they have 2 men on base in the bottom of the 10th. Knight is 1 for 3 with a walk. Strike with a fastball at the knees. 0-1. Carter and Mitchell out on the line. Little roller up along third. Boggs is going to let it roll. It goes foul. So Knight comes back to hit with the count no balls and 2 strikes. Each team playing fast and loose with the baseball, as the error column would indicate. Zambito and Stanley are standing up in the bullpen for John McNamara, but neither man is throwing. Kevin Mitchell at first, Gary Carter at second, 2 out. And that's going to be hit into center field, base hit. Here comes Carter to score, and the tying run is at third in Kevin Mitchell. And the Mets refuse to go quietly. With 2 out, they come scrambling back with consecutive hits by Carter, Mitchell, and Knight. And John McNamara goes to the mound. 5-4 Red Sox, and he's also going to the bullpen. He wants Bob Stanley to pitch to Mookie Wilson. So the Mets, 39 times they came from behind to win, are battling to stay alive.
Uh-oh. All situations, like ice or
those cream puffs and tamarines, I treated myself to the best beer in the U.S. of A. Miller Lite. Light's less filling. And its taste makes me proud to be an American. As for you guys out there who spent 10 of the toughest weeks of your lives with me, I got one thing to say. How come you don't write?
We're proud to say there's only one like beer, Miller Lite.
Power your business software into a new dimension with the Tandy 3000 computer. Important data is only milliseconds away from an advanced 286 microprocessor that delivers high-speed performance and PC compatibility. You can add up to 12 million bytes of memory and expand by sharing that power with others in your office. Discover the Tandy 3000 family of value-priced business computers at Radio Shack Computer Centers.
Calvin Giraldi couldn't do it, and it's up to Bob Stanley, and it's up to Mookie Wilson, and the crowd is alive again, and Rick Aguilera praying that he'll get off the hook. Mookie Wilson struck out, single to right, grounded out, and then sacrificed, and that was the bunt that Gedman fielded and threw high to Spike Owen at second base.
Dale Ford just checked that ball, rubbing it. Now he's going out to talk to Stanley. I wonder what that's all about.
Stanley throws, among other things, a palm ball. You have the tying run 90 feet away in Kevin Mitchell, and the possible winning run at first in Ray Knight. And here's Mookie. Fouled off. 55,078 here at Shea, and they have really been put through the ringer. One ball, one strike. Ball two. And on deck, Howard Johnson, who had that most important at-bat in the ninth inning. Fouled away, 2-2. Fouled away again. Fouled away. Tension mounts some more with 2 out in the 10th. 5-4 Red Sox. Ray Knight at first. Kevin Mitchell at third. 2-2 to Mookie Wilson. And it's going to go to the backstop. Here comes Mitchell to score the tying run, and Ray Knight is at second base. And he pops it in the air, foul off to the right. Gedman coming over. He will not have a play. That was a wild pitch.
Way inside. Gedman reaches for it. You see he hardly moved as far as shifting, and it gets by him. A wild pitch. Apparently not near where he was looking for the pitch.
5-5 in a delirious 10th inning. Line drive foul.
was out of position because they had Knight really picked off, but Stanley didn't see him. There it is again. You see, he just reaches for the ball. Down goes Mookie. It kind of sailed inside. And here comes Barrett in to talk to Stanley, because had Mookie hit just a weak ground ball, Barrett was way out of position because they had a good chance to get Knight at second base.
Can you believe this ball game at Shea?
Oh, brother.
So the winning run is at second base with 2 out, 3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
If he wants me to go over there and...
If one picture is worth 1,000 words, you have seen about 1,000,000 words. But more than that, you have seen an absolutely bizarre finish to Game 6 of the 1986 World Series. The Mets are not only alive, they are well, and they will play the Red Sox in Game 7 tomorrow. Let's go down on the field in this madhouse to Marv Albert.
And it is a madhouse. The Mets were 1 strike away from elimination. Mookie, have you ever seen anything like this?
Dave, this whole postseason play has been unbelievable. But you got to give credit to the guys. We don't give up, and the nice and perfect is out. We could have used to fold it, but everybody battled back. And it was up to me to do my part, and I did the best I could.
What went through your mind as you saw that bouncer going in the direction of first baseman Bill Buckner?
My only thought was to beat the pitcher there, and I thought I had a good chance of beating the pitcher, and I think Buckner saw that too, so maybe tried to rush a little bit. And that was it. I knew it wasn't a very hard hit ball, but it had the angle and the spin.
All right, and off the angle and the spin, the man to my right, Ray Knight, scored the winning run. And Ray, you are totally exhausted.
Marv, I am. This is an emotional thing. Physically, you get tired, but mentally, after I made that error and gave him the go-ahead run, I just never felt worse in my life, and I just kept hoping that I'd get up there. This is a game of redeeming features, and thank the good Lord I had the opportunity, and then I wasn't the GOAT. But you don't care about making errors, but you want to win, and we put our heart into this. And I'm just exhausted. I'm happy, but I've never been more tired than I am right now.
Ray, you mentioned the word GOAT. You went from potential GOAT to hero with the bad throw in the 7th inning.
Well, no doubt about it. I laid back on the ball to get the good hop, and it took a little funny hop, and I had a bad grip on it and threw it wild. You never want to make an error in that situation. And I said, if there's any justice in this world with the season I've had and what I came back from, I'll get a chance. And I got that chance, and the good Lord is on my side. Didn't hit the ball that good, but it went in there for me, and here we are winning. And I don't worry about the error. I'll never worry about that error again, but it's been a tough winter for me had we not come back.
All right, 2 outs, 10th inning. You're down by 2 runs. You guys are sitting on the bench. You were down. Did you think it was all over?
I didn't. I honestly didn't. I came in and I said, we've scored 2 runs before, guys. Let's just get it going. Even with 2 outs, I really said a little prayer to get Gary a base hit. He got the base hit, and Mitch got the big hit. I got 0-2, and I just tried to concentrate, and I didn't get much of the ball. I got a hit. We've come back all year when we've had to. I know the character in this ball club, Marv, and I never say die with this club, and I'm not surprised. I just thank the good Lord, because you just wonder how many times it can happen.
All right, what does the victory here tonight mean for a 7th game tomorrow night?
I think it's the way that we won it. We came from behind, which is the first time I think a team in this series has come from behind to win a ball game. And I don't believe it's something as momentum, but I do believe that mentally we got to be really up for tomorrow after coming off and beating it best. And we have to take all can now, and we got a pretty good pitch ourselves going.
Do you feel good about going against a guy like Oil Can Boyd, who certainly has had his ups and downs and had his difficulties against the Mets at Fenway?
Well, I tell you what, if you don't feel good about getting into Game 7 after being two runs down with 2 outs, boy, what can we ask for? It's like a rebirth, and we just come out tomorrow, and everything has to turn to our side. But we know the same thing can happen to us. Funny game. I'm thankful we're there tomorrow. I can't think anymore. I'm numb.
All right, 2 of tonight's Met heroes, Ray Knight and Mookie Wilson. Let's get back upstairs to Vin and Joe.
All right, Marvin, as we see a study in contrast, an 11th hour reprieve for Davy Johnson, a heartbroken and downcast John McNamara. We can tell you the winning pitcher was Rick Aguilera. The losing pitcher was Calvin Schiraldi. Tomorrow night, Game 7 of the '86 World Series. The excitement gets underway at 8 o'clock. Pre-game show followed by Game 7. The World Series is home on NBC, and ain't we got something.
The pictures told it all.
They sure did. Hope you'll join us tomorrow night at Shea Stadium in New York for the final game. For Joe Garagiola, Vin Scully wishing you a very pleasant good evening.